Suckers!
Good evening, brothers and sisters of the Leaf. Coming to you live from deep, and I mean deep in the heart of Texas. It's the Tuesday Night Cigar Club podcast. Tonight, our month-long celebration of all things bloody and spooky continues as our favorite drunken podcast crew pays tribute yet again to a true master of horror as they discuss the late Tobe Hooper's 1986 underrated gorific comedy, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, while smoking the impressive Undercrown Sun Grown cigar from Drew Estate, paired with the Bloodwork Orange IPA from Austin Beerworks. So put on your happy face, folks, and get ready to laugh. Or if you don't have a happy face, take a cue from lovable old Leatherface and find someone else's happy face to peel off and wear as your own. Either way, it's time to sit back, light 'em up, and enjoy the show.
Every day I'm hustling, 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 hustling. Every day I'm hustling, hustling. Every day I'm hustling.
You boys know what tonight is, don't you?
What's that?
Episode 59.
Yeah.
Try not to giggle when I say it when we start the show.
Well, why would we giggle?
Episode 59.
Yeah.
You know, like the sex position. So this chick, real quick, turn music down just a little bit. You guys are going to want to hear this. This chick's at a bar. She's looking to get lucky. And she meets this young guy, a little bit younger than her. Have a few drinks. She gets him a little tipsy. She takes him back to her place, right? And they start getting into it, kind of hot and heavy. And she's like, I want to get into a 59 with you. And he looks kind of bewildered by it. And she can tell, you know, this is new to him. So he's like, well, what's a 59? And she's like, well, basically you put your head between my legs and pleasure me. And at the same time, I have my head between your legs. And she can just tell it's all bells and whistles. This guy's not catching on. So she's like, you know what? And she rips off his clothes, pushes him down on the bed, jumps on top of him, and gets into a 59, and they start going at it. They're having fun for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden, she breaks wind. She passes gas right in his face, and he kind of freezes up, you know, we've all been there. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, it feels really good, I'm really relaxed, just calm down. So he's like, you know, he calms down, they keep going at it a little bit more. And then a couple minutes later, she cuts the cheese again, and he freezes up, pushes her off of him, runs over, and starts putting on his pants. And she's like, whoa, where are you going? We're having a good time. And he's like, hey, if you think I'm sticking around for 57 more of those things, you're fucking nuts. And he gets out of there.
It's 69.
I was wondering.
Not 59. 69. The sex position is 69. I don't know what you've been doing, but
no wonder things haven't quite been adding up. Well, that would explain why my Yelp reviews are so low.
Huh.
Well, I'm glad we got this out of the way before the camera and mics were turned on.
The camera and mics are on.
6-0.
They've been on, as always, the whole time.
Everybody listen to Fritz.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday Night Cigar Club. I guess this will not elicit any chuckles. Episode 59. I learned something tonight, boys.
Every day I'm learning.
Every day I'm learning.
Knowing is half the battle.
I hope so. Because then I know why I'm screwed. Yikes. Well, episode 59. I never thought we'd see the day.
It's kind of amazing, actually.
It is. Well, the number 59 might not be as special as I thought it was, but we're here, damn it. This is our halfway through our October Fests, Halloween horror movie. Every October we try to cram in as much.
This truly is like the Super Bowl of our season.
You know me, I get so jazzed on horror films, and we really barrel it in October. Try to have a good time. I dropped the ball. I did not bring out the giant Oktoberfest glasses we had last time.
Oh,
but you know what?
I love those things.
I know. I promise I will bring them back for the doctor on our big Halloween episode.
The big Halloween.
The Super Bowl, as you said, our Super Bowl episode. Although there is some other big giant drinking vessel on the table tonight. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see. You should be watching on YouTube, by the way. You can see that I'm holding up the Sacred Boot of Remembrance. We were already going to fill it up for the director of tonight's film, but as has been the case lately, life happens or death happens, and 2 days ago, I guess, on October 2nd, at the age of 66, we lost a rock and roll legend in Tom Petty.
Yes.
Didn't see that coming.
He finally backed down.
He finally backed down.
Had his last dance with Mary Jane. Now he knows how it feels.
Too soon?
No,
He's on the money?
No, come on. Tom would have laughed.
All right. Don't do me like that, Tut. That's a Tom Petty song. Even the losers got that one. That's a Tom Petty song. Oh, man. Whether he was leading his band, the Heartbreakers, collaborating with other top-tier artists, or doing a solo thing, Tom Petty was a unique character, to say the least, who made uniquely amazing music. I'm going to give you guys just a sampling of the gifts he gave us. Soak this in. American Girl, Breakdown, Refugee, Don't Do Me Like That, Even the Losers, Here Comes My Girl. Oh, that's a good one. Stop Dragging My Heart Around, one of my personal favorites, Stevie Nicks collaboration. You Got Lucky. Oh, that's a good one, too. Don't Come Around Here No More.
Don't come around here.
I Won't Back Down. Running Down a Dream. Free Fallin'. Learning to Fly. Mary Jane's Last Dance. You Don't Know How It Feels.
Yeah.
That's 15 fucking classic songs that one man put on this earth. And I left a bunch out.
Yeah. Hell, he just had like a new album like a couple of years ago.
His first number one. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Like last year, he had his first number one album. Which I understand the record business is different now.
Yeah.
It doesn't take as much to get number one as it did. But Tom Petty said this to the Chicago Tribune back in 2002, which I liked. I think that in many ways I had a pretty tough childhood, and the music actually became a safe haven for me. That was where I escaped to. It really is the only true magic I've found in the world. Most magic is a trick of some kind, but music is actually a healing thing. It has this power to heal and inspire and to lift you right up. And I think that pretty much describes his music and his style of music and his approach to lyrics really succinctly. I like the quote because the majority of the comments I saw on my social media feed and whatnot from friends paying tribute to Tom Petty, almost all of them mentioned how kind of his straightforward, lean storytelling lifted them up over the years. Like they had positive memories of whether I had an actress friend who's like, I listened to, Running Down a Dream before every audition. Or, they'll have these really personal moments associated, but they were all like uplifting. And it wasn't like, my dog died and I listened to this song over and over again. That's what I do with music. These people actually found a happy place. And I think that's the magic he was talking about. Thank you, Tom Petty, for all of that. And from all accounts, it seemed like he had more left in the tank. It sucks to 66, man. You lived a rock and roll life. You can't. I'm sure he had.
Good life.
I'm sure he had fun while he was here.
Oh yeah.
By all counts, but you guys, Tom Petty fans?
Oh yeah.
Who isn't? I've never met one guy that's like, not big.
Man, it's weird because he wasn't one of those artists that I would turn to on a frequent basis. I kind of caught him in the early '90s phase. The Running Down of Dreams. Don't Come Around Here No More, I think was the first Tom Petty song that I actually latched into. But then it just I really didn't get into the Mary Jane, and especially the You Don't Know How It Feels. That was the song that actually kind of spoke to me.
I really liked his early stuff.
I'm not saying that it's kind of weird because even though he's not like one of my go-to artists, you have to respect what the talent does. I always found him to be very Dylan-esque, except with actual musical talent
and a vocal you can understand.
Right. I mean, he had
hits.
He had the same poetism to his lyrics, but he could actually compose and produce a melody that was actually pleasing and that
catchy.
you wanted to use.
Yeah, he made hits. Dylan wasn't a hit maker.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was just a hit maker when other people did those songs.
Okay, that's good. That's a good point.
When he did those songs, it was kind of like
yeah.
Tom Petty had that same.
Nobody's naming 15 Dylan songs.
Tom Petty had that same kind of. You could tell he was really influenced by Dylan, but his music was far more accessible.
What I liked about him was, as far as an American songwriter, a lot of those guys, especially frontmen for their own namesake bands and whatnot, you always kind of associate with a certain, like Springsteen, you associate with Jersey, and John Cougar Mellencamp, you associate with the Heartland.
I couldn't tell you where Petty's from.
Take a guess where Petty's from. You wouldn't know.
Indiana.
Way off. Do you know?
South Dakota.
How did you know? Florida. He's a Florida guy.
I don't really see that.
Which he looks like a Florida guy. He looks
Actually,
like a guy.
I was about to say, the whole.
He looks like a guy you'd run into at a Florida gas station, but I would never have guessed that.
The whole Free Fallin' video suddenly makes sense.
His songs were just universal from an Americana standpoint. Everybody could relate to him. I loved his early stuff. I love American Girl, Stop Dragging My Heart Around, Refugee, like that early stuff. I can remember listening to that stuff in the roller rink when I was a kid, and just man, it was just catchy, good rock and roll.
Yeah.
Our boy Fritz that we listened to every night. Remember, he used to do a cover of American Girl with his band Punchy that just brought the house down. I can't believe we don't have that on the iPod here playing. But anyway, definitely boot worthy.
Yeah.
I'm going to pour a little bit out before I even try tonight's beer. And like I said, thank you for all the gifts again. God, 15 hit songs and we left some out. That's nothing to shake a stick at.
You don't know how it feels.
What a unique guy.
No, you don't know.
Unique voice.
Unique
look. A lot of respect there. So, adios, Mr. Petty.
Adios.
Let's get right to it, boys. We got a big show. Tonight's cigar. Every episode, as you know, we do a cigar, a beer, and a film, and we try to make it all work together. I think we might hit a home run tonight as far as pairing goes. Tonight's cigar is the Undercrown Sun Grown. Boy, I always get excited about a new Undercrown. We'll talk about that a little bit. I'll give you the specs real quick. It's a Corona, 5 5/8 by 46. The wrapper is an Ecuadorian Sumatra sun-grown wrapper. For you at home, that means the leaves were grown fully exposed to sunlight. No shade whatsoever, just full blast of sun. No shade. The binder is a Connecticut River Valley stock cut and cured sun-grown Habano. It is the T52 wrapper for you Drew Estate fans. That's the wrapper they use on their T52 cigars.
Nice.
Same binder that the original Undercrown used. We'll talk about that here in a second. Filler, Nicaraguan. The cigar contains one leaf of aged Lajero from the Nueva Segovia region of Nicaragua, which borders Honduras. They added that one leaf for strength.
You know, I like my Lajero.
Well, I can tell you, we mixed things up a little bit tonight. I actually smoked one of these pre-show. We did our photographs for the website and whatnot before. We usually do them afterwards. I think that Lajero will let itself be known to you, so you should be happy about that. I'm going to stay off the price till later. The cigar was crafted by Drew Estate master blender Willie Herrera and his team at La Gran Fabrica Drew Estate in Nicaragua, supposedly by the same factory floor blenders that made the original Undercrown.
Interesting.
If you remember that story, the guys rolling the cigars on the floor of the factory were smoking way too many of the high-end Liga Privada cigars they were rolling.
Yeah.
So management came in with like, why don't you guys use some of these components, lesser expensive components, in a different blend that you like smoking and come up with your own thing, and we don't chew up some of our own, you don't want to snort your own stuff. So they came up with the Undercrown. That was back in 2011.
Yeah.
Kind of right back when I really... I got into cigars really big around 2010, 2009-ish. But man, Undercrown was a huge release at the time, and I just fell immediately in love with it. The original Undercrown blend, which is now called the Undercrown Maduro, the blue label Undercrown, uses the same binder, as I said, as tonight's cigar, the Connecticut River Valley Stock Cut leaf. Then in 2015, you boys will remember, Drew Estate unleashed the Undercrown Shade cigar.
Right. We reviewed
tasty.
it. We liked it.
Featured a beautiful light Ecuadorian wrapper, complete opposite of the Undercrown Maduro, and it featured a Sumatran binder. This is a Sumatran wrapper. So you can see how the leaves kind of keep popping up in different forms throughout the 3 different lines. I like that. Kind of gives them a unifying theme among them. The Shade was our number 2 cigar of the year back in 2015. So obviously I was pretty anxious to dig into tonight's. This is a hot new, just released. The Undercrown
Shade was
Sun
actually a
Grown.
very popular podcast episode that we did. It's episode 17. We paired it with Ghost in the Shell and the Asahi.
We did. Let's try
Asani?
Can we top it tonight, boys? Can we
Damn
top
you,
it?
Asani.
Damn you, Asani. Well, finally, Drew Estate President Jonathan Drew had this to say about tonight's cigar. Challenging Willie Herrera and the Undercrown blending team to create the new expression after finally securing the sun-grown tobacco is extremely exciting, as we have tried to secure the Sumatra Ecuador tobacco for over 15 years. So, apparently they've been trying to get this wrapper for quite some time.
I'll be kind of curious.
I will say in the
because,
cigar world, sun-grown wrappers are far down. I mean, it is a rare, I would say rare, but it is on the list of available and popular wrapper leaves used. It is low on the list.
I will be kind of curious because, the other Drew Estate offerings, they really had that early 2010 thumbprint, if you will.
Dark, oily, smoky.
The Saka,
ballsy,
the
Saka
presence
stuff
was really cool.
You're in for something.
Willie has his own thing that he brings.
I think Willie comes from a more Cuban influence.
Yeah, and so I'm really kind of curious as to because whether you've tried the Herrera line, the Steli line, or the Norteño line, which I'm a huge fan of the Norteño line.
As am I.
I'm kind of curious to see. You got that traditional profile with the tradition of the Undercrown profile that you're talking about, the tradition of the using the similar tobacco leaves. I'm kind of curious to see how this profile, does it lean towards the Undercrown, or does Willie kind of, muscle out some stuff?
I am going to be very curious to see what you think. So yeah, we will be lighting that up. I'm excited to go with tonight's cigar, the sun-grown Undercrown, and tonight's movie, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. Very sun-drenched. When I think of horror movies and the hot sun beating down, I think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's kind of where the tie-in there came from. And if you're going to tie in a sun-drenched horror film with a sun-drenched cigar, why not do a sun-drenched beer? So what do we got tonight, Yak Boy?
We have from Austin Beerworks, which is located in Tulsa.
Oh,
No, it's from Austin, Texas.
I will say that is another reason we went there. Not only was a big chunk of this film shot in Austin and around Austin, the director was born and raised in Austin.
Yeah,
It's an Austin.
It's
It's an Austin-centered film. We wanted an Austin beer.
Yeah. We're doing the Bloodwork Orange IPA. From
Is it Bloodwork because Leatherface gets bloody?
I'm gonna assume so.
Is
Okay.
Bloodwork Orange a play on Clockwork Orange?
Possibly.
Okay.
I think a lot of people, a lot of breweries have come out with their own version of a blood orange beer, whether that was mixed with ale or is an normal ale, IPA. People have been really picking up on that fruit.
It totally is a. Sorry. No, it is a Clockwork Orange play.
Is it?
Yeah, because on the back it says Sicilian blood oranges and Citra hops orchestrate a Ludwig von Citra symphony.
Yeah, okay, there.
An allusion
yeah.
to the Ninth Symphony.
Of course.
All right, sorry about that. Go.
But Beerworks, they have been in Austin since around 2011.
Okay.
Primarily been putting their beers out in Austin. But
Still
they've been-
independent?
Still independent. Been putting it out there. There actually is not a lot of information
I like that.
about the Beerworks. It was
Oh,
started.
they're pretty vocal on Twitter.
It is
like
beer,
them.
though, right? We can
It
drink.
is-
We can
yes,
drink
beer.
it.
Yes.
Okay.
They make one of my favorite IPAs, the Fire Eagle.
Fire Eagle.
Very,
I like
very
that
nice.
they make
drinking.
another one. Their
And you're not
Pilsner,
an
called
you're not
the-
an IPA guy.
It's called the Pearl Snap.
Pearl Snap's good. The
very light.
Peacemaker's good.
Does it get more Texas than Pearl Snaps?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I left my Pearl Snap at home. I just,
Okay. Have you ever had these guys in the pub?
We have had. Yes.
Okay.
The Bloodwork Orange. This is like I said, it's fairly new. It's probably only been out maybe about a year at most.
Okay.
At this point, the ABV is about 6.5, and it is a 70. It says 72 IBU, but just from what I've tasted thus far, it doesn't even feel like it's that hoppy.
yeah.
So
I think Fire Eagle's hoppier than this.
Yeah,
I
so
dropped
I'm-
this
I'm-
down to about
my
64.
expert internet beer internet beer expert opinion, I'd put this around 52 IBUs.
52? I was going to say 64.
I actually was debating between 48 and 52. It's not a overpoweringly
No.
hoppy beer, and the blood orange is not overpowering as well. It's got a really nice profile to it.
I mean, I can definitely. Can't necessarily say that it tastes like a blood orange in any way.
When's the last time you had a blood orange?
Exactly.
I've never
I've never had a blood orange. What is a blood orange?
It is an orange that looks red.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's kind of like
That's why he's the expert.
it's more like a grapefruit almost, and the way it looks.
I think blood oranges are grapefruits.
Well, I'm not saying that. I mean, just say this is a grapefruit, which is just really large citrus.
Okay. Have you had this beer before?
I have not.
All right, good. I like when we're all coming into something new.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, no, not really.
No, that's it. They really keep
They
it
don't-
under wraps, huh?
Yeah,
Do they have a tap room or?
Yes, they do. As a matter of fact, they have just opened up a new one here at the beginning of this year.
Okay.
They expanded from where they were. They still have the same location, but they have added on a all new tap room. They have, and it just like I said, it opened up in February,
And that's in Austin.
and that is in Austin.
I don't know if we're gonna make that trip.
Go down to 3009
We're going to make
Industrial
that
Terrace.
trip. We're going to make that trip.
That's a good 30-minute drive from here.
So far.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what we think of the beer. First impressions. Like I said, it definitely the IPA label works.
Yes.
You do get the orange and the citrus, but I mean, I love it when I get. No, don't get me wrong. I like a double IPA. I like the bitter knock me on my ass. You do get a lot of bitterness, but it really cuts well with that orange. It's nice.
Yeah.
And considering it's almost Halloween and it's still nuts hot here in Central Texas, it's refreshing, which I'm not going to fight that.
It's just a wonderful fall time here as we continue to sweat and fight off mosquitoes.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Oh, the mosquitoes are bad.
You get anything off the cold draw on your cigar, Top?
Yeah.
I barely clipped the end with my scissors. Same on the cigar I smoked pre-show. And I'm getting a very open draw, like perfect open draw. I don't need to cut it. It does not need to be cut deep.
No.
Just barely get the cap off of there.
No.
I'm getting the same thing I got the first one.
Hay.
Mainly
I got-
just a little bit of barnyard hay and
Yeah.
some sweetness.
I got some hay. Is a little bit of hint of raisin. You know,
I think
normal,
that's
normal
the
thing.
normal stuff. Well, I'm going to light that up. I did mention tonight's film is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2.
Part
I had never
Two.
seen part 2.
I thought maybe you hadn't.
And not. Part 1, as a little boy, scared the ever-living bejesus out of me.
Well, you had
and after
mentioned
that, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre from here on out.
You
and then
had-
lo and behold, my bromance, Matthew McConaughey, he stars in one, and I still,
Haven't seen that
because
one.
the first one scared me so damn much. Nope.
Well, you mentioned it was total Tuesday Night Cigar Club style for our George Romero tribute last week to not do a zombie movie and to do Creepshow.
Yeah.
I think the obvious choice with Tobe Hooper, the director of tonight's film, who recently passed away, would have been to do the original Texas Chainsaw, or
Yeah.
perhaps Poltergeist, or one of his more well-known stuff. For me, much like Creepshow with George Romero, to me, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 is a gem that needs a light shown on it, and those other movies get all the aplomb and the attention they deserve, and I'd like to shine the spotlight on a movie that just might be the most insane.
It is. I'm sorry. I can't hold it back. This movie is batshit crazy.
It sure
throw
is.
that out there.
It's Texas crazy.
It is Texas batshit crazy.
So much so, I asked Tut, say, how could you not notice to wear his cowboy hat tonight? If you're not watching on YouTube, as I said, you should be. Tut's got a cowboy blazer on and a cowboy hat. You're not going to get that on iTunes.
No sirree. No sirree. Brazos.
Brazos.
I still don't understand what that saying is.
I don't understand anything a certain character in this movie says, but we're going to get to that. You guys light up. I'm going to come back.
By the way, do you want to give a little something in the booth there?
Yes, I'm going to. Before we get in the movie, I would like to
All
say
right.
a few things about Mr. Tobe Hooper.
He did pass away, and I know that you were a big fan of his.
In many ways, much more so than George Romero, who I was a big fan of. But as far as an influence, you listeners will know I've dabbled in filmmaking for a long time, and I would probably say after John Carpenter, Tobe Hooper was growing up my biggest influence. The Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 was written by a guy, L.M. Kit Carson, but it was directed by Tobe Hooper. He tried desperately to get someone else to direct it, and when he just couldn't find someone that he approved of, that he thought could do it, he did it himself. Tobe Hooper passed away a little over a month ago on August 26th at the age of 74. So,
Good run.
good run. Good run. Especially when a guy subsisted on nothing but Dr. Pepper and cigars. That gives me hope. We just filled the boot of remembrance last episode, as I said, to legendary horror director George Romero.
Yeah.
And Tobe Hooper was certainly in that elite four of master fearmakers, along with Romero, the late Wes Craven, really leaving only John Carpenter among the land of the living. Man, I can't imagine what capacity I'm going to lose my shit when Carpenter dies. I don't want to think about that. You guys shouldn't either. I'm going to be a mess.
I figure we'll do a month's worth of just
It's
Carpenter
just
movies.
I don't even, no I don't know what I'm gonna. It's gonna be painful beyond. Anyway, well, let's not think about that. He's still here. He's still chugging.
Still smoking away.
Still no.
Oh, he finally gave it up?
Carpenter is like a year off cigarettes,
Yeah.
which I kind of don't like. But
Well, we don't know if that's
for
true.
selfish reasons. Well, Tobe Hooper was born just down the road from us in Austin, Texas, back in 1943. And as a young kid wanting to make scary films, when I learned that after reading about him, and I got Fangoria magazine at the bookstore every month, that was huge. That someone from Central Texas, where I lived, could actually grow up and make movies. Keep in mind, this was the 80s, early 90s, when Austin was still relatively small and completely off the Hollywood radar. It was just kind of this beautiful little place to hang. Sadly, that's not so much the case
It's
anymore.
the Austin that all the Austinites dream of.
Yeah, me too. But it's not that anymore, but that's a discussion for another day. Well, Tobe Hooper was proof you could assemble a small group of like-minded, cinephile maniacs, get a hold of a camera, create something passionate, and he set the world on fire. We all tried our damnedest as young filmmakers in college and our early 20s to follow the trail he blazed over the years. But to this day, no one has ever come close to achieving what this man did and essentially creating the modern horror film with 1974's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Horror was coming out of a place where it was Christopher Lee and Hammer British films as Dracula, and
Your
Peter
Vincent
Cushing
Prices and all
and Vincent
that,
Prices,
which are
and-
good in their own way.
And Romero kind of broke ground in '68 with Night of the Living Dead, but 1974's Texas Chainsaw Massacre turned the screen upside down, and as Tut said, it had you running home to your mommy, just you didn't know what the fuck you just saw, and that's what he set out to do, and he did it better than I think anybody's ever done it since. Speaking of being a kid, I remember sitting in the back of our family station wagon, driving past the old dilapidated Matterhorn amusement park, which I think was also called the Prairie Dale Amusement Park.
Yes.
Where tonight's film, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, right off Interstate 35 in Jarrell,
I remember driving by it all the time.
which
as a
I didn't
kid.
realize until he died and I started looking at this film, is literally 5 minutes from where we're in the corner of No Hope where we're recording this right now.
Oh yeah.
It is literally 5 minutes down the road where this,
And I
location
never
was.
knew it was there. It was gone before I
and
got here.
every time I would drive by it in the back of that station wagon, because we used to go visit my aunt and uncle in Austin a lot. I didn't know what it was. I hadn't seen Texas Chainsaw. I knew they did a horror film there, but I'd look out at this rundown, dilapidated amusement park, and my heart would start racing, and my stomach would get really tight. It was just the spookiest to know that the guy that did Texas Chainsaw Massacre did something out there. It was just so cool to have that so close to home. The man leaves behind an eclectic filmography, to say the least, that cements his legacy as one of the true masters. Tom Petty style, here's just a few rundown of his films. Obviously, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was his first narrative feature. He had done some documentaries beforehand. If he stopped at Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he'd still be a legend. I'd still be filling the boot for him. But he didn't. He next did Eaten Alive, which a lot of people haven't seen. It's a grimy, underrated little fever dream of a film. A little hotel in Florida with the innkeeper fed his guests to these gator. He had a gator farm. So creepy. So just like an LSD mind trip. It was just insane. I encourage you to go see Eaten Alive. Then they had The Fun House, which was equally as trippy. If you ever thought about sneaking in to a traveling carnival after hours when you were a kid to see what goes on with the carnies after the gates close.
Yeah, he made you not want to.
He made you never want to pursue that. Of course, the much controversial Poltergeist. A lot of people say Spielberg actually did more directing on that than Tobe Hooper.
I always thought it was a Spielberg film. I didn't realize
that's a majority of people saying. There's a lot of evidence to say that he did meddle quite a bit, but you never heard Hooper say a bad word about him. Then, of course, a big highlight for him, he then went into TV with the Salem's Lot miniseries.
Salem's Lot scared me too.
And then he did Space Vampires, otherwise known as Life Force.
which was fantastic.
Well, as a young kid, just for the naked vampire alien women was...
Look, there's more than just naked vampires
Is there?
in space. Not that there needs to be.
Very-
It could be
Very stylish,
Very stylish.
sci-fi film.
good lighting.
Speaking of sci-fi, he also did, I don't know, the underrated and underseen Invaders from Mars,
Yes.
which kind of was his creep show, a throwback to the sci-fi movies he loved as a kid.
Yes.
And then skip ahead, later in life, he did a really fun creature feature, Crocodile, about a
yes.
killer crocodile. And then, of course, I skipped over tonight's miracle masterpiece, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I say miracle in that it actually, all they went through to make this thing, it actually cohesively could be put together editing-wise and make a film, and a film that works like it does. Toby once told horror historian Mick Garris this, and I quote, when I make a film, I continuously sand it, and then I polish it, because the closer to music I can make it, the happier I am. I want the movie's effect on you to almost be like music. I believe that approach shows through a lot, and I think Hooper accomplished that aesthetic way more than he missed the mark, especially with the Chainsaw films. It's visual poetry, even in the blood-drenched chaos, and it's certainly the aspect of his films that inspired me the most. I love, the aspect of bringing music in as a driving force towards your aesthetic and what you're driving through.
I can actually see that too, because it's more of a
feeling.
There's a flow. There's
a flow, a rhythm, and a
edit.
feeling. You could watch it with the sound off and still go for a ride.
Yeah. I can get that.
I'm going to do a little self-serving shout here. If you go to our Tuesday Night Cigar Club YouTube page, go to our channel and watch my film Underbelly. We just put that up there finally. You can see just how large of an influence Tobe Hooper was on my own filmmaking. I think you see a lot of, vibes and moves that I just ripped straight off from him. So, that's enough about me.
Great, you're eulogizing him and then you make it about you.
I said one sentence about me. That's pretty good for me. Rest in peace, Tobe Hooper. Like Tom Petty, thank you for all the gifts that you gave us over the years. Like I said, one of the big four of modern horror filmmakers.
Like I said, I'm not going to pretend that I'm a fan, but I do know how impactful just one movie was to the entire genre.
Absolutely.
He basically came out of the gate, and after that, everybody has been chasing him. That's kind of high praise. I mean, this is what, 94, 2004, 40-something years ago?
You know what? That's how a lot of these guys were. I mean, if Wes Craven had never done anything but Last House on the Left, his first film, we'd still be talking about that film and the impact it had. If George Romero never did anything after Night of the Living Dead, we'd still be talking about it. If John Carpenter wasn't his first feature, but if he had stopped at Halloween, but these guys continued, despite, as artists, studios wanting to get in their way and stifle their vision. I mean, these guys continued to, despite any roadblocks they had, put out good shit.
Yeah.
And I just, like I said, I hope whoever's with John Carpenter Night's watching over him carefully. Take care of that guy. So before we get into the film, first impressions of the cigar. I'm going to give mine just a touch up because I ran my mouth so much. I will say this. On both the initial cigar I smoked earlier and this, I was not expecting that initial blast of burn through the nose.
Yeah.
Boy, it got me. But then through the draw, it immediately settled down into a really nice... We got some graham cracker, some cedar, and maybe a little bit of chocolate. What'd you guys get?
That I'm definitely picking up big time on the chocolate, but I don't know if maybe that's like a mix between the cigar and the beer.
No, it's cigar.
Okay, because I was just like, I don't know.
Milk chocolate? A milk chocolate?
Yeah, I mean, just really strong chocolate flavor right here in the beginning, and I was like, man, is that the cigar mixing with the beer, or is that just the cigar?
I don't think the beer is going to give it that orange, that citrus on the beer and the hops. I don't think you're going to get the chocolate off of that. I definitely get the milk chocolate on the cigar, but I do get that kind of graham cracker component to it, and a slight woodsy cedar note. Really smooth, just a really smooth draw, perfect draw.
Yeah.
It's good. The wrapper, the sun grown wrapper itself, feels like a leather jacket if you rub your fingers across it.
Does.
I mean, it's a very weathered, strong feeling. You feel like the tobacco leaves you could just kind of tug at it and it's not going to rip. When you see the pictures of the guys in the factory, like it's just got it feels like it's just a really like when you see the rich cowboy from The Simpsons messing with tobacco leaves.
Rich Texan boy.
Todd, what do you think? You haven't said much.
I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest. I do taste a little bit of the chocolate. I don't taste. Man, I can kind of see where you're going, graham cracker, but I don't really taste it. I think I'm more kind of influenced by what you said, to where I'm like, oh yeah, graham cracker.
I am an influencer.
But I'm not really sure that's there. I'm not getting cedar at all.
You're getting the strong, the real strong pepper on the nose?
Yeah. I would say to me, it's coming off more of leather. It's a little bit more subdued than, that strong cedar, just that kind of punchy cederness to it. To me, it's more like a leather. It's kind of like a subdued cedar, I guess.
A subdued cedar. So we have milk chocolate.
I am getting a little bit of the chocolate, though. That's kind of cool.
The milk chocolate is universal. Possibly 2 votes for the graham cracker. You know what? I might actually give you a little bit of a leather, as well as the texture of the cigar itself. It might be a soft leather component. Draw and the ash is straight.
Now it's interesting because I made the observation when we were shooting pictures. I was like, unlike the Nica Rustica and some of the other DE lines, to where I can't really say the other DE lines, but with the Nica Rustica itself, it's almost like it burns too fast to get that smoke production that I like.
It's a very oily,
to where I'm just kind of like,
flammable
all right,
wrapper.
You guys, you've gone too far on this,
right?
And I haven't noticed it on like the 2 cigars that you've smoked now. I haven't noticed that smoke profile. This is starting to kind of calm down, but for the first, good half inch to an inch there, it had that Nica Rustica just flame on going on.
I haven't gotten that with the.
No, you haven't, and I've been watching Cody, and he hasn't either.
Mine is just burning perfect temperature, really good burn line. The first cigar was a stack of dimes. I mean, razor sharp burn line, great draw. You know what? Let's give it an inch or 2, and we'll see what happens. 59 style.
Oh.
69 style.
69
style.
There we go.
You need a beer, my friend.
Yes, I do.
You might as well
as long as I'm in here.
beer the Texan over here. Brazos. Brazos.
I'm going to get you some little 6-shooters over there. This is for Tut. Well, let's move on to the film real quick. We got a doozy for you tonight. It's a film of pure excess.
Indeed.
A film where the human body is nothing more than a slab of meat to be butchered. A film when at its best, I think, is the Three Stooges drenched in blood and screaming at the moon.
All right, I can agree with that.
The film is, of course, as I said, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. After the iconic Cannon Group logo comes on the screen, which action and horror fans of the 80s just, you get excited.
I always say when you hear that, those beginning credits start to roll, you hear that just doom, like
you get tingly.
You feel it.
You get tingly.
I love how worked up you guys get just over the logo stuff.
I love me some Cannon Group, and this was actually the end of the Cannon Group. They had actually got into some trouble with the SEC and with Tobe Hooper especially. This was the last film. He had a 3-picture deal with them. Invaders from Mars was his previous film, and Life Force, Space Vampires. They had both underperformed terribly. With this movie included, they had invested about $40 million in Tobe Hooper, and they hadn't made half that back in receipts.
Take the money and run, Toby.
A lot of what you see in this movie was our beloved Cannon guys sending Israeli tough guys to the set and being like, tearing pages out of the script, like, well, you're done shooting, Friday. Well, we have 3 pages for Saturday. Well, we'll just throw that out of the script. It's gone. There. Now you're on schedule. Just bringing in their own line directors and producers on set that just. He spent as much time arguing on set as he did directing, and it was really this beautiful disaster of a film, which I called it a miracle. What we see on screen shouldn't have been as what it is, but we'll get into that. After the Canon logo group disappears, we're greeted with an opening voiceover that tells us this. It's a long voiceover. Remember, the original was John Larroquette doing the voiceover on the original Chainsaw Massacre.
That's right.
This is not John Larroquette. This is just kind of a boring white guy voice, so I think I can nail it.
Oh yeah.
On the afternoon of August 18th, 1973, 5 young people in a Volkswagen van ran out of gas on a farm road in South Texas. 4 of them were never seen again. The next morning, one survivor, Sally Hardesty Enright, was picked up on a roadside, blood-caked and screaming murder. Sally said she had broken out of a window in hell. The girl babbled a mad tale, a cannibal family in an isolated farmhouse, chainsawed fingers and bones, her brother and her friends hacked up for barbecue, chairs made of human skeletons. Then she sank into catatonia. Texas lawmen mounted a month-long manhunt but could not locate the macabre farmhouse. They could find no killers, no victims, no facts, no crime. Officially on the records, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre never happened. But during the last 13 years, over and over again, reports of bizarre, grisly, chainsaw mass murders have persisted all across the state of Texas. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre has not stopped. It haunts Texas. It seems to have no end. When you were a kid, did you at any point think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was real?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I sure did.
Oh, man.
I think that's what played into every time I drove down. Look, if you don't want me to tell stories, I can take a hint, Tut.
No, I mean,
I thought it was real.
I did too, and that's I think what scared me so much.
No, I thought it was. I thought it happened like around here.
Oh, now you think it's real?
No, I'm.
Like today, you think it's real?
Yeah, no. There was
our
senior partner.
You know, when you see
talked about a family that got busted. Like
the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, real quick. I'm going to go off notes briefly. Was inspired by Wisconsin serial killer Ed Gein, who's also the inspiration for the original Psycho. He lived alone on a farmhouse. His mother had passed away, and basically he killed drifters and local women. And when they discovered one of the local missing women in his barn, hung up and skinned, they went into his house, and he had furniture made out of human skin. He had a coffee jar in his freezer full of ears and private parts. Ed Gein was kind of the first, this could happen in America, small town, country America. This guy had this nightmare house. I mean, those skull lamps, and I mean, this guy was actually doing this shit. He was the inspiration for Psycho. He was the inspiration for this.
Oh, man.
I am not aware of any actual cannibalistic chainsaw families in this area.
That's kind of disappointing.
Although if I knew he actually thought that, I would have had you bring a little chainsaw sound effect to play outside.
That's not cool.
There are crazy people in Texas. I mean,
there's crazy people everywhere. Let's put it like that. But no, it's always one of those because I mean they those movies they go based on true events. And
as a kid,
they don't fill in the true events.
As a kid, that's
so then you're left to wonder, like, oh God, what was true about it?
This is a block from my house.
As a kid, that's all you need to hear. So yeah, for my whole youth, I thought this actually happened. And whenever we drive through because I moved to Texas in 3rd grade, so one of the things I thought of when I thought of Texas was I'd heard of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And yeah, I got the fucking willies whenever we drive a stretch in the country.
Well, all the time. I mean, I grew up in the country, and by the time I saw this movie...
This one or the original?
The original. I grew up in that same landscape, so you go drive down the road, and you see that house off on that hill over there, you're like, that's it. Those are the people. That's who lives there. No, that's your cousin. So-and-so lives over there. Oh, no. That house, that's the one. They're crazy people.
I'll be honest, I still think that. A year ago, this last summer, we were driving down to vacation in Corpus, and long stretch of road, nothing. And there was a house ways back off the road, but there was a sign up on the road, free dolls. And a little arrow like to the house. And I'm like, there you go. So we went. That's free. No, but I saw that. I was like, holy shit, that's... No normal people giving out free dolls.
Nope.
Well, Well, this narration then leads us into a basic red text on black background opening credit sequence, set to some very frenetic kind of organ music, which immediately sets a different tone than the minimalistic kind of satanic ambient music, clanging music of the original. This sounds much more similar to the horror themes of that time period. It reminded me a lot of Friday the 13th Part 3's theme, Return of the Living Dead. It was very much in tune with the horror movies that were coming out.
Right.
Which immediately set me off when I first saw this, because I love the gritty, terrifying realness and weirdness of that score. But this film needs that to be at least a little more approachable, because everything else is so fucking crazy. Well, we come out of those credits and we join two future University of Texas frat boys, Buzz and Rick the Prick, as they drive through the Texas Hill Country, firing their daddy's pistol at road signs.
That's a big old hand cannon.
It really is.
What was that, 357?
Yes.
Oh, jeez. Could these two have possibly been written or portrayed as bigger 1980s douchebags?
No.
They cover all the bases.
They've got every single little check mark on there.
Well, maybe if they were future Stephen F. Austin frat boys.
Well,
that would.
Here, and I
Texas Tech.
Okay.
You agree on Tech? Okay.
There you go.
Hook 'em horns, bro. We're on our way to the biggest party of the world. These guys are idiots. And they're just loving life. Buzz says between swigs from his Shiner beer, I had forgotten how these cliched these two.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Well, they decide to use Daddy's car phone. This is back in the days when
it's a big old bag phone.
To call into the Red River Rock and Roll request line, where DJ Stretch is pulling duty behind the microphone at KOKLA, home of the Red River Rock and Roll in Burke Burnett, Texas, which is at the top of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Is Burke Burnett, Texas, Yak Boy, a real place?
I hope it is, because I really just like KOKLA. I really just wanted to say, we're okay, you're okay.
I was really... We're okay, you're okay, everybody's okay, LA.
No.
Burke Burnett is not a place.
No.
Okay.
Burnett is. I think even Burke is.
But there's no Burke
Burke, but there's no Burke Burnett.
Okay, so they made up a town. Interesting. Well, they don't have a song request for the cute string bean Stretch DJ, as they just want to yell "Hook 'em horns" over and over again. And despite her pleas,
they're going to the for all right.
I'm getting to what this whole thing revolves around where they're going. She pleads for them to hang up, stop tying up our phone line. It's a busy weekend for them. Then these idiots decide to play chicken. Their attention span is, they're all into that. Then they see a pickup truck coming in the opposite direction. Let's play chicken. Hook 'em horns. So they immediately start swerving over in the other lane to play chicken with this pickup truck until they run it off the side of the road.
Man, it's a sweet late 70s blue Chevy.
Yeah,
Stepside with the roll cage on it and the headlight. Oh, it's a nice truck.
Well, it goes off into the field and they keep going, laughing their asses off, shooting their gun. They actually take one last shot at a roadside sign promoting the Texas Battleland Amusement Park, and then they ride over the hill into the sunset. A few hours later, after dark, 8:11 p.m. Texas time, to be exact, the same dickheads call into KOKLA again. They're still on the road to the big OU Texas game.
This time it's night.
It's already nighttime. They've been driving a long time.
I'm just saying, it's not that far from Austin to Dallas.
No, it's not.
And that UTOU game.
It could conceivably get dark from the time you go from Austin to Dallas.
It could.
3 hours?
But that game's going to start. That game's not a 7 p.m. game, especially not in the 70s or the 80s.
If we start nitpicking facts in this film,
no
logic. We're going to go down into.
I have to, because I've been on the road during that weekend, and it's not deserted. There are people firing their 357s out the windows.
Well, they were on back roads. They were taking back roads.
It wasn't 35.
Well, they call in to Stretch again. But this time Buzz is calling in a request for his buddy Rick the Prick. Old Rick the Prick would like to hear the song Bright Lights, Big Titties. Oh, and remember how I asked you if there's any way they could become bigger douchebags? Their license plate, FAHQ. FAQ.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I got to see if that's available.
That'll do it.
I wouldn't mind having that one. Well, Stretch is beyond infuriated at this point with these goofballs. She calls her giant lunkhead producer, LG, in to try to disconnect them. But as he's fumbling around with the cords, he clearly doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Maybe I'm not too sure on the tech here, but can't they just hang up?
I've always wondered about that.
The radio
That's
station?
the thing in 80s horror films, though. And I seem to remember being on the phone in the 80s with, like, girlfriends and friends. And I remember if they didn't hang up, you could hang up the phone and pick it up and they'd still be there. I think both parties have to disengage. I think that's true.
I always wondered, as a radio station, have they no mute button?
Yeah.
Have they no volume control?
Go to channel 2.
Did you see the guy running the booth? LG is a lunkhead.
With his dials and his switches and his buttons, he can't do nothing.
It's clear he doesn't know what he's doing. Well, the boys...
There's no blinky lights. There's no little fake wall behind here. What are these random sequence lights behind us?
Well, the frat boys' path is suddenly blocked as the truck they ran off the road earlier is now parked in the middle of a small bridge blocking their way. Are you crazy, pig fucker? They yell at him. Buzz hits the gas to swerve around the truck. The truck shifts into reverse and begins speeding alongside of them in reverse.
It's night. It's deserted road.
It's a bridge.
Apparently the longest bridge ever.
There's a lot of long bridges in Texas.
Yeah.
I've seen some long ones. A lanky, rotting corpse suddenly stands up in the back of the truck bed and begins chainsawing his way through the roof and the door of the tiny convertible.
At first, he does like this little dance and stuff, and I actually like it.
It's
I
creepy.
like this suit, this corpse suit that's basically being worn. It looks really, really good.
I believe they refer to him as Nubbins. He's a puppet of sorts.
Yeah.
So he starts sawing into these boys' car.
And I'm sorry, I have to do some facts here. You just spent like 4 hours on the road shooting road signs with your 357 hand cannon that your boy still got over there in the passenger seat.
Excuse me, Rick the Prick fires off a shot from his pistol.
Finally, after
One shot. He ran out of bullets. He had one bullet left. And the corpse's head suddenly slumps over to the side, revealing that it's actually the massive masked figure known as Leatherface operating him, standing behind him.
it's like a bodysuit puppet.
It's kind of a bodysuit puppet he's using. And this whole time, Buzz is still trying to drive, avoid being chainsawed, and he still has that huge car phone in his hand. He hasn't let go of the car phone. So Stretch and LG are hearing everything that's going on.
But all I can think of at this point is, after they're doing all this, they forgot the one thing they could do. Hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
Well, that's every horror movie. You can always hit the brakes.
Apparently not. They can't turn off the telephone. They have no brakes.
First of all, he's driving. He's got all this going on. He's got the Zach Morris Saved by the Bell car phone in his hand.
I was waiting for him to do the little whole like wind it up thing, like, you know.
He's got a lot going on. Well, Stretch and LG can't believe the carnage they're hearing, and there's nothing they can do about it. Eventually, Leatherface strikes gold as he saws Buzz's head in half. There's a fantastic shot from the back seat.
From the back seat,
as you see Buzz's head, the top half slide off, and it's just a severed half a head with blood just splurting up into the sky. Oh, it's beautiful. The convertible flies off the side of the road. We don't see it, we hear it through LG and Stretch's perspective. As the phone line goes dead, Stretch and LG try to piece together what just happened. You know, what the fuck? That was the craziest phone call ever. Did you do that? She asks him when the phone line goes fuzzy. Darling, I just put the underwoofer across the overflapper. He says before giving a facial expression that essentially tells us what we already knew. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
His primitive mind doesn't understand alloys or molecules.
I'm pretty sure early on in the podcast he threw that line, asked a couple times, like, Tud, is this just threw the underflapper through the overflapper? Well, LG is played to perfection by a local Austin actor, Lou Perryman. And DJ Stretch is brought to life by the highly charismatic Caroline Williams. who would
like her.
She'd go on to carve herself an impressive career in the horror genre. She appeared in a lot of franchises. The Stepfather franchise, Leprechaun. She was in a Leprechaun movie, the Hatchet franchise. She was in one of Rob Zombie's Halloween thingies he decided to do for some reason. And she actually reappeared as Stretch
in Roadhouse.
No. Oh, she is in Roadhouse.
Is she in Roadhouse?
No, that's not.
No,
her.
no,
That's
that's
not.
not
I'm
her.
sorry.
She kinda
You threw
looks
me
like-
out. She does
she
look
kinda
like.
looks like
she
her.
does look like the girl from Roadhouse. No. She reappears as Stretch in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 as a reporter briefly.
Yeah.
And she doesn't call it, but it's kind of like their little tie-in.
Yeah.
And she was the actual Stretch in 2016's Sharknado 4: The Fourth Awakens. She plays Stretch in one of those
That's
Sharknado
kinda
movies.
cool.
Yeah, I kind of want to see it now, just to see that. She's so great in this. They both actually are. I remember being a little shook up back in 2009 when news came down through the filmmaking community around here that Lou Perryman was senselessly murdered by some random psycho with an axe in his South Austin home. Just some random dude went into his house with an axe and killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, not boot worthy, but it was sad. The one guy that we done who wears boots, we're not going to do the boot for. Wearing cowboy boots does not get you guaranteed the boot of remembrance.
No, it doesn't, my friend.
But they're just phenomenal in these roles. The next morning, Lieutenant Lefty Enright is surveying the crash scene of the frat boy's car carefully from under the brim of his giant cowboy hat. That's why I wanted you to wear that hat tonight. When local detectives...
I reckon I could, partner.
When local detectives show up, they're not surprised to see him there. Everyone knows that the former Texas Ranger Lefty is now a vigilante investigating every possible attack by the Chainsaw Killers to avenge the deaths of his brother's kids, who were Sally and Franklin in the original Chainsaw movie. The brother and sister, Franklin was in the wheelchair. Sally was the one that survived, but we learned from the voiceover, went into catatonia and went insane. But that was 14 years ago, way down in South Texas. And Buzz and Rick the Prick here were just some kids raising hell is all, the detective tells them.
Oh, they raised hell.
Typical high-speed car crash. We see it OU Texas weekend all the time. Hell's exactly what they raised, a stone-faced Lefty says.
I actually like that line. I thought that was a pretty cool line.
I said it. I didn't do it justice. Hell's exactly what they raised. Is that better?
Sure.
I'm not an actor. I'm sorry.
Hell's exactly what they raised.
That's a little better. Well, despite the detective threatening to send Crazy Lefty on the first plane back to Amarillo to keep any talk of killer chainsaws quiet during this big weekend, on the authority of the district attorney, 1 second later, he's agreeing to help Lefty get his story out to the mass press and in all the newspapers and the TV stations because Lefty wants to fish out any witnesses who might have seen something. Talk about a flip-flop.
Well, it's actually kind of there's a cool little exchange there where the hoity-toity deputy is like, I have the authority to send you back on the first plane out of here.
I'd like to use that authority.
Yeah, I'd like to see that authority. I really would.
We're going to get into why. I'll do it right now. What the hell?
Yeah, you have to.
Lefty Enright is played by Dennis Hopper.
Dennis effing Hopper.
Who has always been a mixed results screen presence for me. I loved him in Blue Velvet, Speed, Easy Rider. But I gotta admit, half the time in movies, he comes across as kind of flat and disconnected to me. He feels... This is a weird movie because to me, he feels totally disconnected from the material. But it
kind of
works.
fits.
But it works somehow.
It really...
This could have
You
been...
can't really figure out if he's staring off into the distance going, how did I end up in this movie?
I think that's what he was doing, but it works somehow.
But it worked because he was supposed to be staring off into the distance because he's kind of crazy because he's a vigilante.
It's such a weird performance.
No, it really is.
And, you know...
But that's Hopper. I mean...
It is. I mean, this is a role, though, that I would love. You could plug anybody into this, and they could... I would love to see Bill Paxton in this role.
He could probably do pretty good.
I think he would take it in a totally different kind of manic... despondent thing, but Hopper does do something here that's really special. I just get the feeling that it was completely accidental. I think he was just really, I can't believe I'm here. And I know from what I've done a lot of over the years, I've read so much on Tobe Hooper and this film. I really do think he just couldn't believe he was here saying these things. And he's a pro. You know, he's been acting since he was a kid. He did what he did, and I'm not going to begrudge it. It works in a weird way, but it is a very unusual performance, which we'll talk about more so.
Well, first of all, I have to say that the Texas stereotypes that they throw through here, there's a part of me that wants to be offended. But
I'm not because
I can't.
I'm not because this thing was written by Texans, directed by Texans. It is a satire, and which I will go into very quickly. If you don't wake up and smell that this is a comedy above all else early on, you got to be able to laugh at yourself. You got to be able to laugh at your circumstances.
Yeah, and that's
we'll talk
that's
more.
kind of where I kind of landed. I'm taking this coat off. By the way.
right.
It's still the Texas heat.
Well, you know what? While Tud undresses, I want to keep going back to the cigar because the first cigar I had was so good. I am really getting just a really nice milk chocolate and graham cracker with a woodsy component. Construction is spot on. The burn line, considering I've had to relight because from talking too much, is razor sharp. It's a really tasty cigar, guys.
Unfortunately, I think my little IPA beer here is throwing too much crap at it.
You think so?
I'm tasting way more of the beer on the backsplash on the afterthought that I'm not really getting the presence of the cigar. Like I'm missing out on
to
that.
me, they're working
cracker.
independently and not clash. Like I'm getting great stuff from the beer, and it's not. I'm giving them space. I'm not taking a swig of beer and then immediately puffing away. If they were looking to fill a void between the Undercrown Shade and the Undercrown Maduro,
this is definitely like
I think
in
this
between
is a great
those
medium
two,
ground. I personally think it's tasty as hell. What do you think?
It is.
Fan? You like it?
I do. I am getting that chocolate. I'm picking just.
It's very smooth chocolate, though. I mean,
It's
is very
and like
like a hot cocoa or like something very.
Yeah, it doesn't have that
Just within
bitterness
that-
of like a
that-
dark chocolate. Yeah.
and like just a hint of that from the before the unlit. I mean, just that raisin aroma.
Are you still getting that sweetness on the?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just sticking through there, and it's really nice. I mean, like you said, it's burning well. I mean, the construction is spot on.
I wonder if that lightness, that hay kind of is more of a profile of that, full sun type deal. Because I've had other sun growns and I've had other naturals that kind of, it's kind of like a similar type.
I like this as far as, we've had some really good Connecticut shades on the show this year. Rose of Sharon, the Zlatno Sans. We've had some really good heavy hitters on the show this year. As far as a kind of a middle of the road profile and strength, and while giving you not a boring flavor profile, but milk chocolate and the cracker and the sweetness. Man, to me, I'm really.
I think that might be what's kind of throwing me off a little bit, though, is that I'm not getting the nicotine profile, the strength profile. Normally, when you get something that's very pronounced in the flavors to where you've got heavy flavors that you can easily identify and latch onto.
Sure.
Normally I'm associating that, or there's a couple of strength that comes with it, and I'm not really getting that the full nicotine just.
I'm only getting strength on the retrohale.
Yeah.
I'm getting a really nice. Now it's died down some after the first third. That spice and that pepper.
Yeah.
Boy. Upon ignition, this thing, I was not expecting that strong of almost an eye-watering blast of pepper on the thing, but it immediately just calmed down into these really middle-of-the-road, enjoyable flavors. I dig it. I like it. We'll come back.
Yeah.
Well, next thing we know, Stretch shows up at a drunk lefty's hotel room. In the hallways, there's all the OU Texas fans, but they're not college kids. They're just a bunch of drunk cowboys stumbling around randomly, like just bouncing off walls.
And it's like the most stereotypical
It
cowboys.
is, but it's supposed to be. It's supposed
the
to
only
be
thing
funny.
missing is chaps.
I think I saw one guy with chaps.
I was waiting for like a guy to come around the corner with the lasso, like
By law, one of us has to have a lasso. Well, she read about Lefty's quest for justice in the newspaper. That's what he wanted. Only in the newspaper, the cops made fun of him, made him sound like a quack.
Yeah. I think that's why they agreed.
That's why he's like, we'll put you in the newspaper. Yeah. Local weirdo, Lefty Enright. Well, in her hand, she has a cassette tape that she tells him clearly has Buzz and Rick the Prick getting chainsawed to death on it the night before. But Lefty won't even listen to it.
You would think the police would be like, what's that? You have evidence of the murder?
Dude,
or a former Texas Ranger?
This is a big travel weekend. A lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels getting a lot of business. We don't need any talk of chainsaw killers. That's basically what they're doing. They're trying to sweep it under the rug.
Oh, I'm talking about Lefty.
Well, here's the thing. Lefty, who wanted more than anything witnesses, and that he won't even listen to it. Tequila. He's drunk. He's shit-faced. He's sitting at the table with a 3/4 strength bottle of tequila. His life's mission is on hold while he's drunk.
TNCC style.
Stupid tequila. She begs him to listen to it. She sees the potential story here as a ticket out of her current radio job. She's not happy there, obviously. Into something bigger, but he's not having any of it. I may be the only help you got, she pleads. But as he pushes her out of the door, Lefty explains to her why he needs no help at all, which again conflicts everything he told the detective. He's drunk. I got a perfect willingness to die. That gives me a moral on this bunch of mad dogs. They live on fear, they thrive on it, and I ain't got no fear left.
I just hear Dennis Hopper.
Did I do a little bit better with that reading? I tried.
You get a little bit more accent in there.
I feel like
drink a little more scotch. Oh, by the way, folks, we all, in conjunction with the beers tonight, we are sipping on some scotch. The Chivas 12-year. Anybody else?
No. I had.
I'm good.
I had plenty.
I had a birthday since our last show, and we're going to be celebrating that in style coming up. But Yak Boy was kind enough to bring us a little side, little appetizer. Is it appetizer if you keep eating it throughout the main course?
Yes,
that's how we do things. But you know what? This makes a little more sense. The Lefty not wanting being out of it in the scene. There was a deleted scene that they didn't use where before she showed up, he had a drunken dream, because he's a man possessed with this, where he's in the hotel room and it's just a million chainsaws start coming through the hotel walls. And he's just like it kind of gave you an insight. This guy is really gone at this point. But by taking that scene out, it just looks like you just begged for help 5 minutes ago, and now you don't. You're having it. You don't want any of it. It is a little confusing. So Stretch heads on over to the convention center, where the annual OU Texas Chili Cook-Off is taking place. She tears LG away from the French fry house he's been building, Yak Boy style.
That's a pretty impressive
You ever
house.
seen him build a French?
You
ever see this guy build a French fry house?
No. That guy has got 4 different types of French fries.
Waffle fries are the foundation.
He's got
skin on are the walls.
He's got steak fries as your roof joists. And he put the all natural cut as the shingles.
Would you use steak fries for the roof joists?
Yes, I would. That's your strength. He's
agree.
done his homework.
I would have used steak fries myself.
I won't lie. I rewinded this twice just so I could and paused on it just so I could look at this.
Let me look at the structural integrity of his.
Well, she drags him away because they're about to announce the champion of the chili cook-off. And who is the grand champion? Is it from Waco? No. Oklahoma City?
No.
It's Dallas's own The Last Roundup Rolling Grill. The chief himself, Mr. Drayton Sawyer. Any self-respecting horror fan will instantly recognize Drayton Sawyer as the cook from the original Chainsaw Massacre, played to bumbling perfection again by Jim Sydow. He's the only returning actor from the original film to show up here. As the crazy MC lady slurps down on his award-winning chili, it's in the top of his trophy.
I love the whole scene. Just to back up here a little bit, as they announce this, they have the chili trophy. It's got a little cup on top, which they fill with the actual chili.
It's oozing down the sides.
They ladle it in there.
And
it's time for the awards.
And she just can't get enough. She's slurping at it with her spoon. Well, as she goes to town eating it, he takes the mic, Drayton Sawyer. He tells the crowd, "You can't skip on the meat. I got a real eye for prime meat. It runs in my family." The crowd goes nuts. Just then, the chick, though, bites down on a human tooth in the chili, to which he quickly grabs it from her. "Those pesky hard peppercorns!" And then he turns the crowd's attention back to him. "I love this town. This town loves prime meat." Dude, Trump style. Get the crowd, like generic phrases that get the crowd in your favor. "This town's got the best meat." Everybody loves him.
Yeah, but actually,
He's
the simple
very
truth
over
of it
the
is
top.
you can just literally go anywhere. Meat!
Yes. But my God, this guy's even more awkward in this one than he was in the original, and he was super awkward in the original.
Oh, but I love. There's a great scene when he comes up and the hostess lady hugs him, but he does this hug where it's like hands.
He doesn't want to touch her.
He's just like, it is just
Yeah,
like,
human contact is poison to this guy.
I was just like, oh, that's so creepy.
If you can't tell at this point that Tobe Hooper's making a comedy here, then I don't know how to help you. Everybody wears a cowboy hat. There's literally football fans everywhere. A football game is on every radio, on every table. It's so over the top, playing on Texas stereotypes, that you have to embrace it and just roll with it and love it. Or in Tut's case, get offended by it.
No. I worked
Once you
past.
took off your hat and blazer, you're okay with it. Now you go, all of a sudden, I'm okay with it. I'm gonna pour another beer real quick. Man, I'm not having the conflict of interest with the beer and cigar you are, Tut. I think they're both standing their own ground, and
Man, I'm not. To me, that beer is just dominating it. That's all I'm tasting at this point.
I would suggest your next beer. I have some Oktoberfest, a St. Arnold's Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
I had over the weekend. No bitterness, just a very run of the mill bready and malt. Try that and see what you think.
Okay.
But for me, they're not conflicting, are they?
I'm not getting that.
Yeah, actually, I could see a Marzon style really complimenting this cigar.
But
We should do the Shiner Oktoberfest at some point on the show. I hear it's good.
What was funny is that
for the 8th time,
I was rewatching that, and where I'm like, yeah, why didn't we do the spot in Oktoberfest?
We did that.
Yeah, the next episode we actually did the spot.
Well, I'm going to get to the cigar here in just one second, but I want to get a little bit further here. So we next join Lefty as he pulls into the Cut Right Chainsaw store on the outskirts of town.
I love how there's just one store that sells chainsaws.
And that's all they
And
sell.
it was an actual store. They did not create that store. That store existed.
Oh, really?
That was the one location
weird.
in this thing they did not create. The Cut Right Chainsaw store was a real place that they filmed.
At least Hooper's going down the road going, man, I got to find a location. Where am I going to find chainsaws?
Oh.
Welcome to the chainsaw store.
Speaking of stereotypes, did y'all see that when he pulled in, there was a random high school marching band marching behind the chainsaws, playing the
Eyes of Texas.
the Eyes
for
of Texas
UT.
are upon you? Just on a road. There was no event. There was no game. It was just, dude, that is good humor. It's just Texas. We got random marching
bands all over the place.
playing our state song.
It would have been more fitting had those same drunken cowboys like stumbled by with their lassos.
From the hotel. Woo! Well, Lefty goes into the store and starts pulling chainsaws down off the wall. Starts swinging them around, envisioning them as weapons in battle. This scene would, of course, be recreated by Butch in Pulp Fiction when he grabs the little chainsaw off the wall and kind of imagines using it as a weapon. The old guy who works there, played by the actual old guy who worked there.
Who worked there?
Can't believe his eyes as he watches Lefty take 3 chainsaws he just bought. He lays like a stack of hundreds on the thing.
Well, before he even starts, he just gets out his wad of money, fans it out
I'm
on
pretty
the
sure
table.
it was more than what these 3 chainsaws would ever cost.
How much is this chainsaw? Well, that special runs $39. Here's $8,000.
Well,
I no longer have need of
This
money.
old guy can't believe his
Jeez,
eyes.
mister.
So he watches Lefty take the 3 chainsaws he just bought outside. They have a big fallen tree out
Yeah,
front
he's
where you can
don't you want to test them
take them
out?
for a test run. So Lefty starts sawing the shit out of this giant fallen tree like a madman possessed.
He's basically
bashing
hitting it like an axe.
Well, I say he is. It's clearly a stuntman dressed in Lefty's clothes. Dude, it's one of the worst close up on Dennis Hopper, medium shot on a young dude in Dennis Hopper's clothes, showing the shit out of this thing.
And then there's not even like he just
still a crazy
no
fucking
rhyme or
scene.
reason. He's just swinging.
Oh, he's almost like he's swinging an axe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely not any way that you would swing a chainsaw.
It's a crazy scene, and it's only made crazier. We keep showing these close-ups of the old guy who works there watching him, and at one point he's like, "Oh my kid banana."
No, he says, "Oh my aching banana."
I thought it was "Oh my kid banana."
I think it was "Oh my," because it kind of confused me. Because at first he was like,
Oh
"I can't
my
believe this
aching
guy's
banana.
doing
That
this."
sounds better.
Oh my aching banana.
All right, because I spent about 2 hours researching "Oh my kid banana," and I couldn't figure out what part of Texas is that a saying.
No.
Can I start saying that around? Oh my aching banana.
Sure.
That's not something you probably want to say.
Maybe if you set up like a tree in your backyard to use on chainsaws on to.
Well, I'll tell you what. Whoever mastered the DVD special edition of this and did the subtitles, perhaps "Oh my kid banana" would have set off some red flags where maybe you should watch his lips a little bit closer.
What was he saying?
Oh my aching banana. All right. Well, I'm going to use that one. That makes more sense. Well, all that chainsaw swinging has sobered up Lefty a bit because he heads over to KOKLA radio station to ask Stretch to play the tape on the air. She says she can't due to FCC regulations, a lot of cussing and violence and all that. But he begs her. He says the killers are here, and maybe if she plays the tape, the authorities will have to start helping them instead of hindering them. Did y'all like how the radio station was located on top of a gun store? When they show the building, it's
I didn't see
the
that. Yeah, I
downstairs
didn't
says gun
recognize that.
store, and then it's radio station.
Oh, I didn't recognize that.
Texas. Yeah, they really go overboard here. McDonald's gun store. You're smoking really fast now.
Truth and fiction.
Are you? Have you given it any space whatsoever? Are you?
Nah, I'm still kind of conflicting on that.
I gotta tell you, between the first one I smoked and this one, it's a smooth smoke. It's got a really smooth. I want to say this one's actually a little more creamier.
No, I would actually agree with you there.
I think it's a creamy smoke, and I think on this one, I think I smoked the last one a little bit faster because we were doing pictures. That creaminess with the milk chocolate and the graham cracker and the cedar, the spice on the nose, but man, just that smoothness. It's got a. I can't compare it to any other DE stick. This definitely has its own place in the Drew Estate catalog. There's nothing else like it.
Oh, actually, I definitely think that, before this,
I'm not.
leading into it, I was questioning whether he would
admitted-
stick to the soccer profile or not, and this is not.
Well, I'm admittedly not a big fan of the Herrera Steli. I do like the Norteño as you do. This is nothing like the Herrera Steli, the Habano wrap cigar. Man, just a really smooth, middle of the road, pleasant. I can discern the flavors, and man, I don't know. I like it.
I like what Willie is showing here is that, that Norteño was such a ballsy cigar. It had a ton of strength on it, a lot of spice, a lot of pepper, good Lajero. This has got a lot of complexity to it, but there's a lot of different flavors on there. Like you said, you get a little bit of that cream, you get some leather in there, you get the chocolate in there. It's a complex,
I think
but
that's
totally different.
I think that's Willie's
complexity. Cuban
influence when they lured him away from his shop in Miami. I think that's one of the things they were going for. Was Drew Estate didn't have a lot of nuance in a lot of its premium cigars.
Yeah.
At that point, they were Liga heavy. They were ball busters, and we love them. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm a Liga fan for life. But I think this cigar is, for me, more so than maybe the Undercrown Shade. I'm getting multiple flavors and nuances that I haven't gotten from a Willie cigar or a Drew Estate cigar in quite some time.
No, I agree.
Okay. Well, she agrees to play the thing, the tape that night. Meanwhile, Drayton Sawyer, the cook, is swerving his catering truck all over the interstate, celebrating that he got the chili cook-off win. He's so fucking happy to be number one again. I'm number one. I'm the best. He's even letting the trophy ride shotgun. He's got the seatbelt on it, but he didn't take the chili out of the bowl on top. It's slopping all over the seat. That's something I would do.
Why wouldn't you?
That's something my wife would be like, you never thought to take the chili out before you rode? No, it's just chili flying all over the place. Well, maybe that shows you how crazy he is.
Perhaps.
Well, he's got, forget the frat boys, he's got a super huge car phone. This thing has
everybody
this thing has
have
like
a car phone?
This thing has like a console.
I mean,
it's got its own like terminal in the car.
Yeah.
And it rings and he answers it. Answers it with the catering business. He's always on the clock looking for jobs. He gets a call from the boys telling him, turn on the radio. He reluctantly does it and immediately hears the sounds of Buzz and Rick the Prick screaming in agony as they're chainsawed to death. You nap-haired idiots, he says into the phone. You done it again, you coon shits. You fudge packers. You'll be the death of me yet. Pretty much the exact same thing Tut used to say to us when we didn't talk into the microphones right.
yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. You did call us coon shits. I remember that.
I'm pretty sure I didn't.
Fudge packers?
No.
Nap-haired idiots? Probably. Actually, I called you that once. I'm sorry. I need to apologize. I'm sorry.
But as technologically advanced as this truck is with its console bag phone,
it's not a bag phone. It's like Star Trek. It's part of the driving console.
Why did he have like this antenna radio?
Well, that's the thing. When they tell him to turn on the radio, I wasn't going to mention this, but rather than turn on the radio like you would in a car, he has a giant boom box with a bunny ears.
Banana ears, yeah.
Banana ears.
Well, I loved it.
My aching banana ears.
Well, I mean, I love
Oh, my aching banana. They show the old guy on the side of the road. My aching banana ears.
Well, I love the fact that the radio also has the bone handle.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. You didn't see
I
that?
missed that.
He had a bone handle? I missed that.
No, it was like the handle you would hold the boombox by is like a big giant bone, like wrapped in like leather or something.
I missed that.
I was like, that's
This movie has a lot of really cool set design you'll miss if you blink. Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to go back and watch this for a sixth time over the last few days. Well, it's now midnight, so Stretch and LG are shutting down the station for the night. They've been playing the chainsaw tape over and over again. You sure got a lot of cussing complaints, darling. Your little ass is going to be in big trouble for this, LG warns her. And boy, is he right, but not the kind of trouble he's thinking. Real quick, I just want to mention, you mentioned the bone handle on the radio. The set decoration here in the radio station is so impressive. They created the interior of this radio station completely from scratch in the old Austin American-Statesman newspaper office.
Yeah. Because it's pretty complex. They have just everything
They had moved away, and they created this radio station from scratch.
Oh.
And it looks so lived in and so authentic.
Yeah.
From the radio gear to the vinyl records to the carpet on the walls. Like, it does not look like something thrown together.
No, it looks like
they've been
looks like a
broadcasting
workable
here. It does.
radio station.
I just love the look of this film. I'm probably going to talk about it too much as we go on.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
It's just so impressive.
It's one of the saving graces of this film.
Well, take it where you can get it. So Stretch hears some noises as they've shut down. LG's left for the night, coming from the lobby of the radio station. And when she cautiously opens the door downstairs, she's surprised to see the world's most insane human being to ever live sitting on the couch. It's Chop Top Sawyer, played by the one and only Bill Moseley. And there's no way I can possibly describe him here to you listeners and do what Bill Moseley did in creating this character any justice. I'm talking top 5 horror characters ever with Chop Top for me.
he looks it. I mean,
and he acts it. Like, this is the most unique fucking...
But I'm going to be honest. If I were to open up a door anywhere, coming out, inside, outside, if this guy is sitting down anywhere,
nope,
I would have just turned right back around, closed that door, and ran.
Especially if you're a female.
No,
for myself.
No, but I mean, you would. But imagine a female alone, and you see this fucking guy. Well, Chop Top's a music lover above all else. Very dressed like a hippie, a lot of buttons and denim vest, but I mean, pale as all can be, almost white.
Corpse white.
Just the weirdest looking dude. Little John Lennon, purple sunglasses. He's got more quirks than normalities. He's more weird than normal. All he wants, he says, is a late night tour of the studio. I love her reaction though when she comes down. What the fuck are you doing here? And he's constantly, this is another weird quirk of his, he's constantly with a Bic lighter lighting a coat hanger and then digging it into his scalp and then taking it off, picking off bits of his own scalp skin and eating it. That's kind of weird.
It's very weird.
I don't do that, as far as you guys know. And he giggles a lot. He's very giggly. And he's over the top friendly, though. Yes, ma'am. She's like, she has to kind of acquiesce and give him a tour. So she just starts grabbing things like.
Well, it's obviously she's scared as.
Yeah, like here's the
out.
desk and the reception. But here's the phone. He's like, ooh, a phone. Yeah. I mean, this guy's so weird and he's so terrifying. He's just everything in one. He's just.
Yeah.
This guy created a fucking character. Chop Top rules. Agreed?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, sure.
Well, out of nowhere, suddenly during the tour, Leatherface bursts in from the next room, the vinyl storeroom, and charges Stretch with his chainsaw roaring out in front of him. In fact, he's going so crazy when he bursts out of there, he grazes Chop Top's head with the chainsaw in all the chaos, denting the steel plate he got in Nam, and then completely destroying his sweet Sonny Bono wig that he was wearing. Dog will hunt. You destroyed my wig, you asshole. Go get that bitch.
Hunt.
Dog will hunt. Go get that bitch, Leatherface. Chop Top starts screaming. Stretch hauls her ass back upstairs. Leatherface is on her heels. She grabs a fire extinguisher, sprays her face. I'll give you your dog will hunt in a minute. Sprays Leatherface with the fire extinguisher and escapes back into the radio studio. Slams a big metal door, which even he can't get through. So Leatherface is hot on her heels, and she's behind the metal door at this point. Real quick, Tut, I see you chomping at the bit over there. When
Dog will hunt.
When Chop Top screams, "Dog will hunt!" You texted me when you're watching the film. Dog will hunt. What does it mean to you?
Jerry was a race car driver. Primus. Primus sucks.
Are you familiar with the song "Jerry Was a Race Car Driver"?
I am.
Did you know that's where that's? I always thought in the song it was actually Bill Moseley sampled. It was sampled from the movie.
Yeah.
I think it was.
I don't think it was. I think that's what's his name.
But yes, a lot of people like Tut got "Dog Will Hunt" is Primus.
It's such a unique saying. I've never, I thought maybe it was like a Southern saying or a Texas saying. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Chainsaw Massacre saying.
But as soon as I heard him, I was like, that was only the only other time I've heard it was Primus, and so I was like, this has to be related.
Check on that. Maybe the next restroom break, we'll look it up. I think they sampled Bill Moseley saying it.
Yeah.
But good song, good album.
Oh yeah. Sailing the Seas.
Their biggest album, I think, popularity wise.
I think so.
Well, even Leatherface, back to the movie, can't cut his way through that metal door. Suddenly, we go outside. LG shows back up with some soft drinks, some fountain drinks he went out and bought, which makes no sense. You feel like something was cut here because they were closing down for the night. She was playing the Star Spangled Banner, and he went out and got sodas. Now, which makes even littler sense because you're going to see in a minute, they have a cooler full of sodas in this place.
Now, for you kids out there, at the end of the broadcast day, both in radio and television, we didn't have a 24-hour broadcast schedule. At midnight, especially in rural Texas, once the stations hit midnight...
TV, too.
Yes, you would have this, if you're watching TV, a picture of the American flag would come up here, and all of a sudden, here comes the Star Spangled Banner. Now, I noticed that nobody was standing with their hand over their heart during this scene.
Don't bring your politics into this podcast.
I'm just saying.
You have to separate your politics from your job.
I like it.
That's what they tell these football players. You got to separate your politics from your job.
All right.
Unless you're that bitch who worked at the courthouse in Texas who wouldn't marry those gay people. They loved her. They loved it when she brought her politics into her job.
But yeah, the Star Spangled Banner.
Sorry,
would
I
kick-
just got. I
You got
brought my
political.
politics into my job.
Yes, you did.
But going back to
Yak Boy always steers us back.
Yeah, but like I said, the Star Spangled Banner would kick in. I fell asleep so many times to the
And then
Star
static.
Spangled Banner, and then it was just static.
Yeah. Every night, even when as a kid, and I think I mentioned this before on the show, my bedtime was 10 maybe growing up or whatever, but we had a radio station low in the dial, 80s. I'd put on my Walkman and I could listen to the local NBC affiliate. They had the TV
Right.
station was on the radio. I would stay up late and listen to Johnny Carson, and I would try like hell to make it to David Letterman. I was a huge David Letterman fan, and I would try so hard to stay up for David Letterman. But after David Letterman, if I made it that far, you would hear the Star Spangled Banner, and then
Dum, da, dum,
you
dum, dum,
on the radio just have
dum.
a tone. So
There
yeah,
was something really weird, nostalgic, and
creepy, a little bit.
no, I was actually going to say comforting.
Oh, okay.
I don't know
Well,
why.
you
Maybe
know what?
because, like I said, maybe there were so many times where I fell asleep, like
Maybe
around
that,
11,
but maybe there's
11:30,
something
and then I would
comforting.
wake up to that.
Maybe there's something comforting in the
The
fact that
anthem.
back in those days, media turned off at a certain point.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you got your phone. Facebook's always there. The news is always there. 2 a.m, it's there. Turn on the TV, they're still talking. There is kind of a comfort in that. At a certain point, they just stopped, and you could get some sleep.
I don't know about that because I do like the up all night channels when those came out. Those are
Well, I'm a
pretty
late
cool.
night guy. I watch TV till 4. I mean, I would not like the old ways, but I think there is some comfort in the fact that hey, what? It's time to go to bed, asshole. We're all going to bed. It's like a unanimous bedtime. Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm not tired. Read a book, dickhead. My lamp doesn't work. Oh yeah, we shut that off too. Damn it.
fill your brain with knowledge at this point.
Open a book. The Star Spangled Banner starts playing. Just go to bed.
I just blank with flag, just flapping waves.
The flagpole pokes me in the eye. Looks like we got ourselves a reader. It did ring a kind of a when she queued up the stars. It did nostalgia. It's not always bad. No matter what I tell my
Got
therapist.
ourselves a college boy here. Got himself some book learning.
No matter what I tell my therapist, there was some good shit back then.
Well, before to go with the Jerry was a race car driver, yes, it was a sample from.
Oh, it was. That was him.
Yes.
All right.
Kudos for you for recognizing it. Kudos for me for
Recognizing the
for a
voice.
sample. Well, as LG enters the radio station, he encounters Chop Top
Don Wilhunt.
digging through the vinyl records. He's down on the ground.
He is
just
a music
looking through
fan.
them.
He actually
He
wasn't
is.
lying.
He's looking through records, just throwing them around, and it leads to this classic exchange of dialogue. LG, hey, what the shit? Chop Top, lick my plate, you dog dick. LG, what the fuck do you think you're doing here, you crazy looking little son of a bitch? Get out of here. Dude, I hated that Leatherface busting now. I want to see these guys talking all night. I could just have a show of just these
Actually,
two.
yeah, I was about to say. Actually, they could have
LG
their
and
own.
Chop Top. Well, man. Unfortunately, Leatherface does interrupt things by barging back in the lobby, knocks LG's big ass down the stairs, where Chop Top immediately starts hammering his face and his skull with a ball peen hammer.
Yes, but it's like a tiny hammer that weighs nothing, and he's just he beats this.
I was
poor
about
man.
to say because I didn't notice that it was a tiny one and that weighed nothing, but because I was going, man, LG is a fucking hoss.
He takes 500 hits
He
from
takes
this
so
hammer.
many beatings.
Well, you did major in construction science.
I'm just
you know
saying,
your
it's like-
hammers.
And apparently, Chop Top cannot hit a guy. It's a hammer. You're supposed to clock him, and he's just like,
No, but here's the thing. As the LG's body starts twitching all over the floor, there's a huge puddle of blood growing. The hammer is doing damage. LG just won't go down. Well, Leatherface marches back upstairs now that LG's under Chop Top's control and decides to skip the whole metal door altogether. He just bursts through the wall of the radio studio. Stretch jumps on top of a giant ice chest. It's like one of those troughs.
Yeah.
Filled with ice and soft drinks. She kind of straddles it to get away from him, and Leatherface begins digging his chainsaw between her legs in the ice, tearing apart dozens of poor Big Red soda cans to pieces in the process.
Which was quintessential Texas at that time because they didn't have a.
Did they have Big Red anywhere else but Texas?
No,
Is that a Big Red drink?
That was a regional distribution at that time.
Yeah. When I saw they thanked Big Red in the credits,
Yeah.
my wife was a huge. I'd never gotten into the Big Red thing, but she
No,
put
that
it
was
on
a-
ice
that-
cream.
that was a- that was-
vanilla
yeah.
ice cream, Big Red floats.
I think they were out of Waco. I really do.
Okay. Big Red was a big Texas soda.
Yeah.
Well, he's just going nuts in this ice chest, and Big Red, like blood, is splattering all over her face. So you got Stretch screaming bloody murder as Big Red's flying all over. Chop Top's continuing to pound LG's fat head with a hammer. This shit is pure fucking insanity.
It
at
is
this moment.
insanity.
And I see why Hooper chose to move away from the dark ambient soundtrack at this point. Because if you had that clanging kind of dark, ominous kind of stuff, it would just be too much. And it would betray the humor of the scene. The organ and the kind of the fanciful kind of score.
Yeah.
It's not fanciful, but it's kind of cathedral
Yeah.
music. It works. It
Yeah.
fits so good.
Yeah,
So
and I think that's a good point. I think that there's
this is a comedy after all.
the movie is so
I think.
batshit crazy to where if you would have gone serious on that soundtrack, it would just been
too much.
too much.
And
I mean,
betray the. If this is a comedy, it wouldn't go with that style.
Yeah.
Speaking of Big Red, did I ever tell you guys I used to dance under the name of Big Ted back in my college days? Only on the weekends.
You have not, and nor should you ever again.
Got into a few 59s myself back in the day. All right, Tut, make a note. Edit that out of the podcast.
Too late.
Big Ted. Big Ted. Do they still make Big Red?
Yes, they do.
I want to say that it was like Dr. Pepper that made it. And Dr. Pepper was independent at that time, out of Waco.
Well, like I said, Tobe Hooper, the director, throughout his career, if you listen to one common thing people say about him, that he had actual handlers on set to make sure he always had a cold bottle of Dr. Pepper in his director's chair. No
Hell
cans.
yeah.
No cans.
Hell yeah.
Only a bottle, and he always had a stogie in his hand.
I
The
love
guy
this
was a
man.
Dr. Pepper
Love this man.
phenom. Well, it seems that all this time with the saw between her legs has led Leatherface to develop a little schoolboy crush on our girl Stretch. It's such a bizarre scene. His saw, eventually he turns it off, but he's still thrusting it in and out between her legs, and there's like a close-up. She's got little jean shorts on of her crotch with the saw going in between her legs. And then something frustrating happens to him. He can't finish. He can't climax. So he drops the saw and he goes berserk. And then he picks it up, fires it up, and starts chopping down the whole damn building.
Everything.
He just starts sawing everything in sight down because he couldn't.
He's sexually frustrated.
Yeah, doctor style.
I will say that Stretch isn't exactly gorgeous, but man, she's pretty. She's sexy. There's something about her that I like.
Well, she's wearing the quintessential cowboy boots and
She's
little
got the
Daisy
denim
Dukes.
shirt and the Daisy Duke shorts, but she doesn't have a Daisy Duke ass. She's kind of tall and lanky.
Oh.
She's Stretch. That's
Stretch, yeah.
She's a string bean. I purposefully did not describe her as sexy in my note. I don't find her sexy per se.
I think there is something.
I found her sexy.
As a guy on the country music circuit, I could see where you met a lot of Stretches. But I would have a hard time on the show describing Adrienne Barbeau in the radio booth as sexy, and then go and say Stretch is sexy because they're so different.
Well, you can have different types of
aesthetically.
sexiness.
I don't think you can.
Yeah, you can.
No,
There's a
no,
difference
you-
between.
Of course you can.
Oh, okay.
Just
Don't make me go into my Gilligan's Island theory.
I thought she played the part great.
Yeah,
I thought she
I
was
did
did everything really well. I just don't necessarily. Even as a kid watching this, I wasn't. Oh man, Stretch is so hot.
No. She didn't have that. Oh my God, she is hot. But there's a sexiness to her. There's just something that was kind of cool about her.
Agreed.
Not a traditional beauty, but a beauty nonetheless.
Agreed. I pointed out earlier, but behind his rubber mask as he was attacking Stretch. I say that because there hasn't been a realistic or even a halfway good-looking, in my opinion, Leatherface mask since the original film. The two ones he used. He had a dress-up mask for the dinner parties, and then he had his Leatherface everyday mask in the original. And I don't know what it is about horror sequels, but for some reason they cannot get the masks right. I'm looking at you, Halloween series. You're just as guilty as any of them. You have this great, iconic, realistic, terrifying mask in the first film, and then they chase it for 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 more movies, and it just gets farther away from what made the first one work. I've never seen a Leatherface mask after the first film that looked to me like human skin. This looked like a rubber...
It looked like a rubber mask.
A rubber mask.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, man, couldn't you just... They did the first movie for peanuts. Couldn't you just get the same guy, get the same tools, and make the same goddamn mask? How hard is that? But none of these movies do it. They always fuck it up.
Hooper's like, I got the mask right here. We could no. Put that away. Put that away.
I don't understand that part of as a student of horror movies. Halloween, the most iconic mask in the world. Halloween 2, let's tweak it. It looks so different. And then Halloween 4, it's completely. Halloween 5 is a nightmare.
Just paint his face white. We don't have mask money for this.
You got all this money. You got $5 million on this movie. Just make the goddamn mask look like they did the first movie. Anyway, if he's Leatherface, his face should look like it's made of human skin. And it doesn't to me in this movie.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's for the comedy. I think it's just they missed the mark. And they didn't expect assholes like me 30 years later to call him on it.
It doesn't really make sense because there's a lot of makeup in this movie that did look really good. Mm-hmm. Chop Top's makeup looks great.
So many good.
Nubbin's bodysuit at the front of it looks great.
I'm going to get into the man behind this here shortly. You're right. There's so much good stuff. And I wish Leatherface had looked more like Leatherface.
Yeah.
Speaking of Leatherface, when Leatherface comes downstairs after the shit fit he threw up in the studio, he implies to Chop Top through a series of shrugs and grunts that he killed Stretch, which of course he didn't because he loves her now. LG's dead as a doorknob, and Leatherface helps his big brother drag the prime meat out to the truck, and they take off. Well, Stretch is our hero, so she's got to do some hero-type move here. What does she do? She gets in her Jeep, keeping the headlights off, and follows them.
No.
She can't let them disappear into the night like they always do. She just can't.
No.
You boys would have totally let them disappear into the night.
You're damn straight.
Am I right?
Yes.
I would have called the cops.
Yes. Eventually.
She could have followed them like, hey, they went into that strange building. I'm going to go get the cops. I'm going to go find Lefty. She at least implied, like, where's Lefty?
I'm in a radio station. I can turn on my mic and tell everyone what's going on.
Yes. Or, like Cody said, she could have followed him. Got the big bag.
She could have gotten her car
phone, her big bag phone that apparently everybody back then had.
She had a chainsaw between her legs, an inch from her hoo-hoo, as Tut calls it. Yet she jumps in her Jeep and starts following him.
No.
Anywho, what a fucking scene, that whole radio station scene. That's crazy.
It was pretty freaking insane.
Crazy. From every interview I've watched with Tobe Hooper and everything I've read about the movie, which is a lot, he's basically one of those directors who gave very vague, non-specific direction to his actors. He cast who he liked, and he really trusted them to do their jobs, and he wasn't too comfortable beyond that. Bill Chop Top Mosley, for example, I love this story. As a struggling actor in New York City, he scraped together $1,000 and shot a short film spoof called The Texas Chainsaw Manicure with his wife at the time. It's basically a girl goes in to get a manicure, and he basically dressed up as the hitchhiker from the original Chainsaw. It's like a short film spoof on, like we do, our hipster spoof and all that. And nothing came of it. Nobody wanted anything to do with it. So much later, he was out in L.A. On a magazine assignment as a writer. The acting thing wasn't doing everything he wanted to do. But he met with a screenwriting friend of his who knew Tobe Hooper, and he gave him a VHS copy of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and said, could you show this to Tobe Hooper? And it's like, yeah. He's like, the guy gave him Tobe Hooper's number. He's like, you should call him in a couple weeks and see what he thinks of it. So Bill got back to New York, called Tobe Hooper, and the director not only watched it, he said he got a kick out of the film, but what he really wanted to know was who played that hitchhiker character in it.
Yeah.
And Bill Moseley like, well, actually, that was me. I did that. It's kind of a very quirky variation of a guy that Ed Neal met, or Bill Moseley had met as a kid, and then mixed in with the original hitchhiker. Zip ahead, many moons later, Moseley gets a phone call that he's been cast as Chop Top in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
That's pretty sweet.
Based on that fucking short film.
So you're saying that there's hope that
somebody will see
the Predator director will look up and go, man, who was that radio operator? He really couldn't hear you.
I love that guy. Miracles happen. But get this. What a crazy fucking story. So Moseley shows up on set. He's cast. Sight unseen. No audition. No nothing. Boom, you're hired. Just do what you did on that tape, he was told. So skip ahead to when Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is filming. He's sitting in the makeup trailer getting the Chop Top makeup done. And love this. Hooper walks in. Never met him. First day of filming. He said, and I quote, this is Bill Moseley, Tobe Hooper walked in with a box of Cuban cigars under his arm and a Dr. Pepper in his hand. Tom Savini, the makeup effects artist, introduced us. He said, this is Bill Moseley. He's playing Chop Top. And he asked Hooper what he thought of Chop Top's makeup. To which Tobe replied, I think the plate in his head could use more pus. And Savini goes, clear or amber? And Tobe says, without hesitation, amber, and walks out of the trailer. Bill Moseley says, I just thought to myself, this guy knows what he's talking about. This is a pro. This inspired total confidence in me. This guy knows his shit. I'm about to be one of his main actors in this movie. He doesn't say shit to me. The guy asks him, what kind of pus you want? Amber. Out. That part of directing I could never... I'm much more handsy when it comes to actors and what they do. Like, just do... but
Be scary.
the thing is, Tobe Hooper was fighting so many battles on this film from the studio.
Yeah, it sounds
the
like
budget.
he didn't really have a time to do that stuff.
By all accounts, Tobe Hooper's a guy who likes to show up on set and figure a lot out on set. As far as how the scene's going to go, as far as he likes to get the vibe of the scene and all this. The problem is when you're on as opposed to the original Chainsaw, when you're there with your friends and it's no money
now
involved.
you got a lot of people.
Now
on the
you
clock.
got $5 million of Israeli high producer money. You have their presence on set, and you have a crew of 100-something people there who
they're
have
all
to get
getting
X
billable
amount
out,
of shit done in 12 hours that day. It becomes a little bit harder to figure shit out on the fly and feel your way through a scene. You got to be a general and lead this army, and differing opinions. Some say Tobe, did it better than anybody could. Others said, there were some things that he could only do so much, and a lot of this movie just happened because it happened.
And I can understand where, you get that feeling from him that I'll know it when I see it.
Yeah.
You're not Terrence Malick here, where you can do 90 takes of a scene, or Stanley Kubrick. Yeah, you got this film was shot over 9 weeks, 12-hour days, 6 days a week. And towards the end, when the producers were ripping pages out of the script, you had a second unit director that the studio brought in that you didn't like his style or anything, off shooting scenes from your script and your thing. And at the same time, it was going to be released 3 months later after shooting.
Damn.
So when he wasn't shooting, Tobe Hooper had an editing suite set up. He was editing the last day's shit as he was filming. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare scenario, which is why I call this movie a miracle, because it turned out this entertaining insanity, but it worked somehow. It had no right to work. It should have just been a a wash, a mess. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. As I said, Stretch follows the brothers out to the abandoned Texas Battleland amusement park. Or we said it was the Prairie Dell. When we were growing up, it was the Prairie Dell amusement park located in the tiny town of Gerald. And she turns her headlights on once they get off the highway and into complete darkness. So clearly they would see her hit her headlights 20 yards behind her. They don't. And even these dummies would have to see that. Well, then she decides to continue to follow them deep into the heart of the amusement park on foot. But after only a few steps, a car with its bright lights shining begins chasing her down. At one point, it's right behind her, and the bad guys are right her. She's in between them, and it's got its brights on. They still don't see what's going on.
It's on the bad person complex. Like, there should be no other cars. They'd be like, who's this?
It's clearly in the middle of nowhere, right behind them. Maybe they didn't have rearview mirrors?
Should not, maybe.
Well, no. This is one of those scenes where I hate it, where, like, in the beginning of the movie, the bad guys are almost omnipotent. They got run off the road, and now they just show up and they find the two douchebags, and they kill them. Just out of the blue. We know where you are, and we know how to kill you, where no harm will come to us. Now that there's a car behind us on our evil lair, we don't even notice it, and it literally, like you said, it's not that far away.
Do you think maybe Chop Top and Leatherface were so engrossed in their conversation? Maybe they're listening to NPR. Like, what's going on in the cab of that truck? What are they talking about? One guy doesn't talk.
Maybe Chop Top was talking about all the records he stole from the place. Look at this one. I've been wanting that record forever. Oh, we're gonna put
Garrison Keillor, turn that shit off.
You do get a feeling he stole some records.
He probably did.
Well, eventually Stretch sees that it's Lefty chasing her. He gets out of the car. Stretch! Which we already knew. They showed it was Lefty's car. They tried to build it up so it's like, oh, she's...
because who else would be chasing him in a station wagon?
It was clearly Lefty's station wagon. But it's too late because a trap door opens up from the ground beneath her and she gets sucked tumbling down into a labyrinth of underground tunnels and chambers.
Yeah, now don't you feel crap?
Well,
Lefty, you told her that if she played that thing that you would come save her, and you didn't.
Lefty, feeling like shit, he used her as bait to draw the Sawyer clan out. He quickly arms himself with his arsenal of chainsaws from the station wagon, kicks down the door, and marches his way into the park to save her. Now,
he's gone. He's gone.
Well, he is gone, but I want real quick. When I say amusement park, I should try to describe this place a little more accurately for our listeners. There's no actual roller coaster rides or like fun attractions per se. It's kind of just a series of giant hollowed out artificial mountains filled with cowboy and Indian statues and stuff like that. It's kind of like an abandoned roadside attraction more than anything.
Okay.
Yeah, but I
like one of those old 60s Route 66 type attractions.
But it's huge. It looks like an amusement park. I always thought it was because it has these huge
like Matterhorn
man-made
type
mountains.
Right.
But there's no rides. It's just a bunch of scary-looking cowboy and Indian figures and like little plaques telling you what
the stories
of Texas history and whatnot. It's a perfect place for the final showdown, but if they hadn't have found this place, I don't know where you do this. I mean, it was so perfect for this.
But the one thing that, once she gets into that, you're like, because there's just there's light bulbs everywhere. And I don't know, this is just...
How many generators do they have running in this place?
Well, I got the impression they did own the property. It's not like they were hiding out here. I think they bought this place. I mean, he is a successful caterer.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I think they have a electric bill.
Okay,
and it must be through the roof.
Oh my god, it must be just insane.
I'm sorry. This is all of a sudden the business person in me.
Small town business guy gets screwed every time.
And I'm just sitting here going, oh my god. This is 1986. These guys are using incandescent bulbs. The wattage alone is out the roof. I'd be screaming at them, go turn them bulbs off.
This is before Obama made us use those other bulbs.
I'm sorry.
Get your politics out of this.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. He's screaming about money. They always want their money. But you go turn the. How many times do I got to tell y'all to turn the lights off in the bathroom?
You know what? He should have said that at some point. He's so concerned about the budget and savings. The cook, the head of the family, they literally have 2-3 million light bulbs going. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit with the set design later. The inside scenes, which are vast and open in this thing, were actually filmed back at the Austin American Statesman thing. Down, they had a huge, multi-story room for the printing presses. And when those moved out, that's where they filmed all the interiors of this stuff. Was at the Austin American State. All the underground tunnels and stuff were at the amusement park at the Prairie Dell, but all the big time stuff was at the newspaper place.
And the set design was fantastic.
They made it great because they made it seem like one place.
Oh, they did. Give me a minute. I want to get into. It's so worth talking about the set design in this film. Well, immediately upon, real quick, before we get into the final countdown, you finished your cigar.
Yeah.
You switched beers, but it was too late.
Yeah, it was.
Where are you at? Your last third?
Last third.
You still got a little ways to go.
Yeah.
I actually have picked up a new note in the beginning of the final third.
Not familiarity, is it?
It is not. Marshmallow.
I have not picked up marshmallow.
Tut got none of that.
I got none of that.
I will say this, in the last third, I'm getting some of the burn back in the nose, which is nice.
That I did.
But the milk, the graham cracker, the spice through the nose, I am getting the sweetness. It's not a raisin for me, but it is a natural tobacco sweetness that you mentioned.
That raisin is, I'm kind of like you, it's now just a
sweet, kind of like a red man chewing tobacco, that juicy tobacco sweetness. But now I'm getting kind of an airy, I say marshmallow because it's a very airy kind of cloudy sweetness.
I'm not getting that.
How's that for a descriptive? Man, I'm all on board with this. I really like it.
I'm tasting fluff.
Locally sourced fluff?
Yes.
All right.
Maybe some type of heather or
Heather fluff?
Heather fluff.
I'm going to leave that out of my written descriptors. I don't want us to become bigger jokes in the cigar world.
From the Highlands of Fluff.
I was already hesitant.
From the Highlands of Fluff.
I was hesitant to say marshmallows. Yeah, I like it. I think it fits a really cool niche in the Drew Estate profile.
Yeah. I think that it's a very interesting cigar because it does stand on its own. It's not just the next, Undercrown. It's not a continuation of the Shade, nor is it a continuation of the Maduro.
Or the Herrera Esteli.
Or the Herrera Esteli. It's not the Norteño. I mean, it is definitely its own entity. It's full of complexity. I just wish that I for some reason, I got so fixated on the beer tonight that I couldn't dislodge it.
Well, you've got another one to do some homework on. I'll be interested to hear report back. Smoking that free of conflicting beers. I'm sure you'll be drinking some beers, but try to give us a see if anything worth talking about makes sense. Down the road. I like the beer.
I'm sure that it will because I was pretty much right in line when we first started the show. In the first third of it, pretty much lined up. I was getting a lot of the flavors that you guys were getting. Maybe not the graham cracker per se, but yeah, like I said, I'm kind of disappointed on the beer tonight because I am a big fan of Austin Beerworks. I've tried 3 or 4 of their beers that I really, really like. This, man, I don't know what it is, but I'm just not in sync with it.
I want to say I had the Fire Eagle at your house before. I remember liking it, but I don't remember the specifics. Man, I like it. I like the flavor profile. It's not citrus heavy for an orange, blood orange beer. The hops are just, they're present, but it's. I think it's blending really well with the Citra. I think it's a flavorful, nice beer.
Yeah.
I like it. And for the record, I don't feel it conflicted at all. I don't know what I would recommend beer-wise as an alternative with this cigar.
I'm gonna say if you want to stick with
Maybe a Pils?
I was actually
Well,
about to say Pils or a light lager.
if you were gonna stick with the Austin Beerworks stuff, get the Pearl Snap.
Yeah, I think
that is
might-
a Pils. That's very light,
yeah.
and I think it would not contrast. You just have a nice Pilsner, and then you could just completely taste the cigar.
Yeah, I think that's a good
And,
suggestion.
You know, much like you said about this, being an IPA guy,
As we are.
I don't think it contrasts. I think the citrus being as prominent as it is in this beer is not. It doesn't. For me, it doesn't. Like you said, it doesn't contrast.
I don't think so. And I actually liked the kind of bite of the blood orange and the hops in the 2/3 of the cigar, where the strength and the pepper on the retrohale was subdued. I kind of got a kick from the beer. Yeah, it worked for me. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah.
We'll take it. Well, immediately upon entering the mountain, Lefty sees a Civil War mural on the wall, and there's real blood seemingly leaking out of one of the soldiers' eyes painted on the wall. Lefty starts kicking a hole in the wall, and suddenly about 200 pounds of human guts and organs just spill out. "It's the devil's playground," he says, before firing up his chainsaw, and then he starts sawing down all the support beams.
It's
got to
come down.
I'm gonna bring it.
I'm
down.
bringing it down. I'm bringing it down to hell. At this point on, Lefty pretty much just picks a phrase and just repeats it 4 or 5 times.
But
I'm bringing it down. I'm bringing it down. I'm bringing it down.
After seeing them, run around in this place, I'm like, this is a ginormous complex. And he just starts sawing away at it like, that beam, this one's go, that one, this one. That.
And
He
it's not the
literally-
fact that, let's see, the lady that I said I would help out, she fell through a trap door. I should go rescue her. But now screw that.
my
I'm
insanity
going to,
is
She's
kicked.
collateral damage at this point.
I'm just going to saw every damn wooden beam I can find.
And to Tut's point, you do see as the sawdust is just flowing in his face, he has lost whatever small part of sanity he had. Did I use support beams correctly?
You did.
Is that what he's...
You did.
They're support beams. He took construction science classes.
I would have called them trusses.
Trussels?
Trusses.
Trusses. Is he right?
To a point, yes.
But I'm more right with support beams.
Yes.
Nice try. Down in the smoke room where they smoke their meats for the chili and the barbecue, Stretch, that's where Stretch happened to land when she fell down all those tunnels in the trapdoor. Drayton Sawyer's instructing his nitwit brothers to start carving up LG's body. "There's a big pregame brunch tomorrow, and that means a ton of croissant sandwiches. I love this town.
They love prime
They love prime meat." He hoots and hollers as Stretch watches Leatherface carve up her old buddy with a little Thanksgiving like
an electric knife.
Electric
He gets
knife.
the electric carving knife and starts skinning him.
Well, as he does that, we get a chance to soak in this amazing set design. The walls are filled with embedded skulls and bones. Severed, sweaty human limbs hang down from hooks. Warm, sticky smoke pours up from all sorts of slow-boiling cauldrons, some of which I think contain the eyeball pate that the cook tells them to keep an eye on.
I don't know what kind of caterer is so filled with delicious smoked meats and pate. That's a side project of mine. I'm working on a pate.
Keep your eye
recipe.
on the eyeball pate. I'm not eating that.
Those folks in Perryton love their pate.
The whole place is lit by what seems like, we said, millions of random light bulbs strung across the walls.
But yeah,
lamps, Christmas lights. If it is a bulb, they've got it plugged
And it's
in.
on.
But what I love about
You
this
name
is
it.
that you can see that there's literally light bulbs everywhere and yet it is the darkest place ever.
It is true.
I'm like, this is, I mean, and that's what I loved about it. It's like, you can see literally behind these characters 100 bulbs, and it's still dark. And
Well,
I was
that's
like,
what's brilliant about it. The cinematographer,
That is really
it
good.
was like, if we light this place with traditional lighting, it's going to show our weaknesses. And if we light it as much with practical lighting, flood this place with a million fucking different wattages of bulbs, we can dial back on our production lighting. And it's dark, but you get glimpses.
It's lit.
This place was so done, and they don't call attention to it. There's 1,000 skulls in this wall, and you'll see it for a second.
Yeah.
If you read the history of it, what they did was they rented a warehouse, and they literally hired art students from UT and local schools, $5 an hour, which at that time was more money than any of these kids were doing. Make me bones, make me skulls, make me plaster casts of anything, and these art students were just pumping out just huge amounts of body parts and all this, and they were just littering it in this place, and it's magical what they did with it. I mean, you just don't see that anymore.
I love the look of it, and like I said, I love the lighting style of it. I much prefer this lighting style as opposed to modern, let's make it as dark as possible to where you can't even see character faces. For as practical as they went on this, you can still see everybody. You can still see all the details of the actors.
Well, especially, I will say this. I watched the first 60% of this film on, I have the last DVD release, the collector's DVD. I watched it in my Blu-ray player, which kind of up-reses a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I watch it there, and then I caught the second half on one of my other viewings on Amazon, which I guess is where you guys watched it.
Yeah.
It's streaming for free on Amazon Prime. The HD transfer on this is amazing. Like, you see so much. It looked great on DVD.
Yeah.
Because it looked kind of close to what I remember watching on VHS, but nicer. The Amazon transfer, which I assume is off the Scream Factory Blu-ray, looks so good. I mean,
It really did.
It really skin texture, all that stuff you miss if you don't see it on here.
And it's another thing that, we're talking about a time before coloring suites, before editing suites, and it was just gorgeous.
Well, the original Chainsaw is so well known for its set design and art, all the bone furniture and all the chicken coop and all the stuff that they did in the farmhouse in the original. This one lives up to its reputation. I think it exceeds it on a lot of levels. Well, Stretch accidentally makes some noise as she's hiding there in the smoke room, and Leatherface quickly discovers her. Being in love with her, he wants to help Stretch, so he takes LG's severed dead skin mask that he just ripped off his face and puts it over her face so she won't be detected by his family. As she looks so good in the LG mask, Leatherface takes it up a notch and puts LG's cowboy hat on her. And then he's turned on so much, he lifts her up and he starts dancing with her all around the room. He's twirling her around, spinning her super fast, super unintentionally rough, like really just giving her a whirl. Kind of remind me of Frankenstein with the little girl by the lake.
And that's
he doesn't know how to handle females.
That's the appropriate comparison. As
the infrastructure of the underground lair begins to crumble from above, because Lefty's up there chainsawing everything, Leatherface, he realizes he's needed. He's got to figure out what's going on. So he ties Stretch up to a wall and runs off. But guess who rescues her? Lefty?
The man.
Nope. Old guy from the chainsaw store? Nope. Rick the Prick? Nopers. LG.
He's still alive.
He's got no skin on his body, but he's still alive. The poor bastard stumbles to his feet in agonizing pain.
This is the toughest SOB.
Oh my god. He doesn't have a face anymore, obviously. That got taken off. And his entire torso's been skinned by Leatherface. So we see his exposed stomach, his exposed rib cage. Oh, it looks so good.
Brutal. It is actually pretty cool.
The effects were done by the legendary, as I said, Tom Savini, who also handled the last film we did, Creepshow.
Yeah.
If you made a a horror movie of substance in the mid '80s. Tom Savini was your dude. Well, LG can shuffle around just long enough. He's in pain, like every little move he makes. He's got no skin, but he shuffles long enough to cut Stretch loose. He grabs, they have a million butcher knives in this place. He cuts her loose. Oh, and he also manages. LG's thing was spitting all the time. Yeah. He still manages to spit some chaw out even without skin on his face. And then he gets her free, which is all he wanted to do, and he collapses to the ground with one final. Oh shit!
The only thing that would have made this scene better is that if he would have sat up instead of spitting, if he would have just gotten a can of Copenhagen, put a little dip in his mouth,
reached into his pocket. Those guys gotta have it.
But no, I do like it, and I love the oh shit at the shit,
dude. It was the word. It was the most pathetic, but honest. Oh shit! And then he's dead.
For real this time.
For real this time. I'm done. I did what I had to do. And what may be the funniest moment for me in the film, Stretch puts his dead skin mask back on LG's face, rests his cowboy hat on his chest, and she's crying, "I love you, LG," to which we cut to his disfigured, severed face, and we see her crying, and we cut back to it, and he looks so god-awful, terrible. I just know Tobe Hooper watched the sequence over and over in the editing room, laughing his nuts off. "I love you, LG," and he just looks like the most... There's never been a human being that has been through such things as this guy. It's fucking hysterical. I mean, I rewound it like 10 times. It was so good. But so dark. Dark comedy, I guess, is...
A very dark comedy.
Yes.
No, literally, they only used practical lighting.
Well, it was very dark, and it was just extremely grotesque and dark. Well, upstairs on ground level, Lefty's still screaming and sawing down support beams. Not trestles.
Trusses.
Drag it to hell! Bury it! May God have mercy on our souls! He yells. Drayton the cook thinks that Leatherface, his brother's causing all this. He thinks that Leatherface cut some shit up there, and that's what's causing the ceiling to fall down on him. You see, the meat is getting dirty, and it's going to take time and money to get this back up to our family standards. Even though they're cannibals,
standards.
They still have standards as far as how this meat needs to be treated.
He's a professional.
All this dust and shit falling. They're going to have to clean this meat. They're going to have to... He's got principles.
He's a craftsman.
He's an artisan. These two coon shits are always ruining everything, he says. He can't catch a break. He's out there selling himself every day to society while the government robs him blind. With increased property taxes, while the big business guys and the Hollywood types, they don't pay any taxes. He's ranting. This motherfucker's ranting about everything. Man, I would like to follow Drayton Sawyer on Facebook.
It would be entertaining.
You thought Riste had some theories. Man, this motherfucker's crazy. And as he's going on and on, not really too concerned about all the dirt and rocks falling on his head, he's kicking his brothers repeatedly in the ass. Do you see that? Every time you see him, he's just kicking Chop Top and Leatherface, just square in the ass. You thought your family was crazy. Cool production note here. I thought you boys might appreciate all that dialogue, because you see Stretch sneaking out, and she's crawling away. You don't see the cook saying all this stuff about property taxes, and
right.
You hear it. That was actually all dialogue from a deleted scene. Originally, in the original script, they find her and they leave her there. They capture her. They need more meat for the big OU Texas tailgating parties. So they go to a parking garage by the football game and kill some more yuppies. And he does all that ranting while they're killing the yuppies.
Yeah.
Cannon Group made the second unit director shoot all that. Tobe Hooper took one look at it and was like, I'm not putting my name on this film if this is not my style. This is not any of that.
Yeah.
But he loved the dialogue.
Yeah.
So he took that audio and put it in this scene. I love repurposing elements from stuff and other things.
Yeah.
Oh man, as a kind of a film, I hate that term, film nerd, but I love learning the, like, you take things from other things and you make a scene work. Like the fact that he never said any of the shit down in there, like, love that. I did that a lot in my film Underbelly, which you can go to our Tuesday Night Cigar Club YouTube channel and watch right now. Find out just how much I like repurposing things. I promise that's the last shout out to myself I will give. I love it. Well, Lefty continues to make his way through the endless tunnels of this place, sawing down beam after beam. The Sawyer family's still oblivious that he's up there doing it. He's screaming.
Chainsaw.
At this point,
this guy
they still don't know he's up there doing it.
He's standing next to Leatherface, and there's a chainsaw off in the background. We're like, huh? Just leave it running?
Giant boulders are falling on the cook's head. He's like, you dumb son of a... He blames it all on Leatherface. When suddenly, Lefty comes across a skeleton in a wheelchair in one of the tunnels. It's his nephew, Franklin. From
Quitman, Price, and Hadad.
Very much so, from Running Man. It's his nephew, Franklin, from the original missing victim from the first movie. This sets our weirdo hero, Lefty, off into another fit of monosyllabic, repetitive yelling. You can't do this! You can't do this! You can't do this! Over and over. I'm taking you down to hell! I'm taking you... Dude, every line of dialogue for this dude is like, all right, say this 4 times. Do I need to put any passion or thought into it? No, just say it.
Hey, kudos to Hopper, man, for sticking with it. Just being the professional and running on it.
He did what he was paid to do.
It's just like, all right, this is what you want me to do? Yeah, you
I
got
want
it.
to collect my paycheck. I want to collect my paycheck.
Start screaming that. Well, off in another tunnel, Stretch is unsuccessfully trying to find her way out of the demented rabbit's hole when Leatherface and the family suddenly corner her. The cook says, "Are you the saboteur that's fucking up my house? Are you trying to put me out of business?" When Chop Top realizes that Leatherface lied about killing her back at the radio station, he starts dancing around. Bubba's got a girlfriend. Bubba's got a girlfriend. Leatherface is sheepish about the whole situation, and the cook doesn't say anything to make him feel any better, of course. Is that what this is, you nap-haired idiot? The old cock and cunt swindle? S-C-E-X, sex. I love that he misspelled sex there. Anyways, eldest brother tells Bubba, the cook, just like everything else in life, sex is a swindle not to be mixed up in. If you wanted to know about it, you could have asked me.
That's odd.
I'd like a short film of that conversation.
No.
But when Leatherface makes it clear that he's turned traitor over tail, chosen sex over the saw, the cook grabs the chainsaw from him. Wait till Grandpa hears about this, he warns ominously. I was wondering if there's going to be a Grandpa appearance. Well, this leads us to a dinner table scene, much like the unforgettable dinner table scene in the original film, only with far more fancier chairs.
Yeah.
Made from human bones, and all around the grotesqueness and over-the-top set design is cranked up to 11.
Oh, it's macabre on itself.
It's awesome. And this is all in the printing press area of the Austin American
Yeah, that's
Statesman.
what's amazing is that they made it. The set design for both places was seamless. I never could tell.
Well, the cook has the two coon shits wheel out 137-year-old Grandpa to join them at the table. And as they do, we pull back from them and then float up to reveal just what a vast, insanely huge place this is. Every inch is filled with just the right color of dust-filled lighting, just the right knick-knack from hell. It's so gorgeous. It's just so gorgeous. I promise I won't talk about the look of this film anymore, but it's just
It works.
It's so fucking
you have
beautiful.
to see it. Everything.
It's like Willy Wonka from hell.
It is so busy yet so purposeful. I mean, everything was put, with intention. I thought that was cool.
I think you've been to my aunt and uncle's house. You've been to my aunt and uncle's house, Nelson. And it's kind of like, they've been there for 30 years, so it's this established place. And everywhere you look, there's a little statue
Yeah.
or a little thing. And it's like that, only from hell.
Just bones and
Everything is made of guts or bones, or it's just. And if it doesn't draw you to it. The camera work does not say, "Hey, look what we
Look
did
at
here."
this. Look at this.
No,
look
no.
at
You have
this.
to actually
Yeah.
look around, and you can look around and be like, "I'll bet I'll find a place where it's just a blank wall." No.
Yeah.
They filled this whole place with everything.
I didn't notice that on watching it, and I appreciate that now, is that you didn't have that cutaway of look at this set, look at this set,
No, they
look
don't-
at this set.
Yeah, they don't do that. Stretch has totally fucking lost her marbles at this point. She's tied to a bone throne, like Game of Thrones, of human bones. And there's a quick moment where Leatherface starts kissing her, like going to town on her. The courtship is over, boys. And the cook just stands there, his older brother, kind of giggling. It's a real quick moment, but God, is it unsettling.
Yeah.
Did you guys catch that?
It is.
It is so... Your older brother watching you with a dead skin mask kissing a girl on a bone throne.
yeah, crazy.
Yeah. So Chop Top wheels the 137-year-old barbecue legend over to bash Stretch's head in with a hammer. That's a real hammer. That's not a ball. That's a good hammer.
Yes.
You see, when the meat industry changed way back in the day from smashing cows' heads in with the hammer to the pressurized gun, that's when Grandpa left. He had some pride. He was an artisan. You're not going to do that nail gun thing. He likes the hammer. He's an artisan. It's Slurpee booty time, the cook screams as Grandpa tries to hit Stretch over the head a dozen times. He keeps falling out the back of his hand. He's 137 years old. He can't get a good swing
But
going.
I love this scene because I like Hooper just takes it over the top, just over and just trying to get the hammer, and he keeps like dropping it, and it just it just takes forever.
Oh, and I love that. You guys know, you've worked with me enough. You know I like repetitive shit that just, all right, he's done now. No, he's still going. Oh, he's done. They're done farting now. No, they're gonna keep. Dude, that hammer falls out of his hand until Chop Top takes the coat hanger that he lights and picks a skull, dips it in her blood, and sticks it in Grandpa's mouth. And that old 137-year-old tongue starts licking that blood, and all of a sudden his eyes. Did you guys see that?
Oh, I remember that.
His eyes light up. Fresh blood gets a little bit of mojo back in the old bastard, and all of a sudden he gets a couple good whacks in with that hammer right over it. They got her head over like a wash bucket. Oh God, it's creepy. This whole scene is. I think in so many ways this film trumps the original. I know no one's ever gonna say this film is better than the original.
It's different and it works.
But if you're gonna do a sequel to a film like that, you better go in balls deep.
I'm definitely not going to say it's better than the original, but there are moments that are just as good.
If you're Tobe Hooper and you're like, well, I think I'm gonna revisit the dinner table scene, which was so monumental.
Right.
Well, how are you gonna top that?
Really. Without just repeating it.
I don't think he fails.
No. And I will say that
He was
there's
swinging like a 127-year-old there for a minute.
I will say that there was a cutaway right after this, where it was like almost ground level, but about 50 yards back or 50 feet back, and Stretch is like slumped into the trough, and they're gathered around, and I was just like, God, that's spooky.
That's what you think when you're driving down the highway and you see that lit up little building in the background. That shit could be going on here.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, before they can slurp down the blood that spilled from Stretch's fresh head wound, Lefty breaks up their dinner party. He finally shows up, entering the room, chainsaw first, singing, "Bringing on the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves." What is that song?
I think it's like a spiritual or
It's a hymn.
Yeah.
It's an old hymn. The Sawyers can't believe their eyes as they don't get many visitors down here. Is that the American way of entering a man's home singing like that? Oh my God, that was funny when he said that. It's not that this guy's here. Like, really? You're going to come in here singing? Dude, come on, man. That's so funny.
More ask the question, how'd you get in here?
No.
No,
Why are you
that would be-
singing?
Is that the way American way to enter, guys? I'm singing a stupid song. Dude, oh my god. I'm still laughing. I rewound that a couple times. Well, he thinks Lefty was sent by a rival catering crew to destroy the place. Those burrito bunch chicken shits, maybe? I'm the Lord of the Harvest, Lefty proclaims. To which a confused Drayton, the cook, says, "Who's that? Some new health food place?"
It's actually pretty timely 40 years later.
I guarantee you there is a restaurant in
Called Lord of the
Austin called
Harvest?
Lord of the Harvest right now. Well, Lefty's heard enough. He fires the chainsaw up to full speed and shoves it right between the chef's butt cheeks, sending blood splatter everywhere. Chop Top runs off as Lefty cuts Stretch loose, and then he gets into a badass chainsaw fight with Leatherface. They're bashing, like sword fight, like bashing their chainsaws together. As they're battling it out, swinging their saws at one another, the cook is under the dinner table, still running his mouth. Just got his genitals sawed off. I sure burned my beans bad on that one. How come the small businessman always gets it up the ass? But on a positive note, Lefty just saved him a trip to the hospital. He solved his hemorrhoid problem. That's not a me joke. He says that. He fixed my hemorrhoids. I guess that's something. Well, reason number 1487 why I don't watch award shows. How do you not recognize Jim Seidow, the cook, for an award for this thing? I'm not talking about that chili trophy with the stuff. Dude, he's so good in this. He's so good in this.
He is. He really is. And
him and Bill Moseley just...
they chew it up. They chew it up.
This is actually one of the very few podcasts that I'm kind of like... Usually when we do these podcasts, I'm like, a lot of times you're going to get more enjoyment out of our podcast than you will the movie. That if you listen to our podcast, we go places that no other reviewed place is going to do. But in this instance, I have to think that you cannot get justice unless you actually see these people. And this is coming. This is coming from a non-horror guy. I'm not a horror guy.
I can't possibly do these guys justice.
And until you see Chop Top's performance, until you see the cook's performance, I mean, they sell it. I mean, whereas Hopper's like, I'm getting the check. These guys are fucking working their ass off and bringing it.
Oh, Hopper's the weak link in this thespian group.
Yeah.
These guys are going
Shit crazy.
aching bananas. I agree 100%. And I appreciate you saying that. I know that wasn't easy. Well, finally, Lefty gets an opening in their battle, and he sinks his chainsaw straight into Leatherface's belly, causing intestines and all kind of bloody shit to start pouring out of the wound. But Leatherface keeps fighting with Lefty's giant fucking chainsaw now embedded all the way through his body. Like, Lefty let go of it. Like, he's literally fighting with a chainsaw just
still wedged in
through
there.
his body. The cook, still hiding under the massive table, tells us he's tired of simply trying to make an honest trade, only to have God repeatedly kick him in the balls. So he pulls out a fucking grenade, or as he calls it, a just-in-case thing, and he blows them all to hell. He pulls the pin and blows everybody to shit.
It literally feels like that scene from, like, Anchorman. Rick, where did you get a hand grenade? I don't know.
Well, he actually pulls down Nubbins, that puppet from the opening scene. He's sitting at the table for dinner, that dead corpse. He pulls him down. Where do you keep that just-in-case thing? It's in his sweater. Well, meanwhile, Chop Top, so they all blow up. Meanwhile, Chop Top chases Stretch throughout the maze of underground tunnels. She jams a lamp into his plate, electrocuting his ass, but he keeps coming. Even he's not fucking around or giggling anymore. He's pissed. No more jokes. Stretch spots an exit sign and climbs a ladder to the outside world, with Chop Top right behind her, basically crawling on top of her. It's bright blue daylight outside now, morning. I love that. I love horror films where it's all nighttime and all this shit, and then they emerge and it's
Daytime.
I love that. Something about that I love. She keeps trying to kick him down the mountain as they climb up it, the fake but very steep mountain, as he slices her legs with his straight razor over and over again. Stretch momentarily breaks free, and she climbs up and stumbles into a cave-like room at the top of the mountain where the skeleton of Grandma Sawyer sits in an elaborate rocking chair made of human parts. And she's holding an old cobweb-covered chainsaw, of course. I guess the saw really is family, boys.
I love this saw.
Well,
It's part of me.
Chop Top shows up and informs her that it's a dead end. This is your last stop, honey.
Get it? Dead end.
Dead end. She's going to be dead.
Yeah.
Okay. He then orders her to stare at his face. Stare at me. Look at me. While he slashes his own throat. Big time. 3 times.
Yeah. I'm like,
Blood splurting out of his... It's fucking crazy. It's like death eating a cracker, isn't it? What does that mean?
Exactly.
Well, Stretch's eyes are trembling in their sockets. Literally, you can see her eyeballs pulsating from all the crazy fucking madness she's seen over the last few hours. She suddenly spins around, grabs the chainsaw from Grandma Sawyer, fires it up, and slices and dices Chop Top in his belly, sending him and his weirdo ass tumbling down the mountain to his death.
I just want to know what kind of brand of chainsaws they're using that just start on that first crank.
I can't get mine to start after like a month of not using it. This thing's been up there for like 20 years. You get a feeling, though, the chainsaws mean a lot to this family. They probably go up there and oil it. And
Probably.
Keep them
Well,
in proper working order.
I just never could understand, like, all right, if they started out in South Texas and they moved up to here in Central Texas, what was that moving company like where they had to, like, haul the bone furniture out? And
They
all
had
the
a
different
truck. I
bone
mean, they could
stuff?
fill up the bed of it. With,
Okay.
I mean,
a lot of trips.
it took like obviously 10,000 trips.
A lot of trips.
I mean, I don't even want to know how many lamps they had to move. That was ridiculous.
Well, much like Sally from Chainsaw Part 1, Stretch is now completely and irreversibly insane as she twirls around and dances on top of the mountain, waving her chainsaw Leatherface style above her head in the air. She's doing the thrusting motions. She's doing the whole thing. Screaming her lungs out. Ah! She's the last woman standing. And she's basically a product of what she's been through. You get exposed to so much craziness, you're going to go crazy. We cut to black where an oddly uppity music selection titled Strange Things Happen by the Police's Stuart Copeland. I thought it was Sting at first.
Yeah.
It sounded so much policey. It was Stuart Copeland Police rides us through the closing credits. The end.
And then at the very end, you hear the...
And then you hear the saw start up again.
It's kind of pretty cool.
Which I guess it could be interpreted a couple different ways. Boy, it's hard to see Leatherface making it out of that.
The
Chop
chainsaw
Top,
through the gut.
Chop Top, we saw him tumble. A lot of horror films in the 80s took the road of the heroine who survives is now the new face of the franchise. Halloween 4 did it. The little girl who was Michael Myers' victim becomes the killer.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that is the end. I don't know. Do you guys wish I had done another Tobe Hooper movie, or you happy with what we did? You got to be happy with it. You've never seen this movie. You're better for it.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it's my favorite, but there was so many moments that were very, very memorable that, yeah, you have to see it. You have to see it. If you're a fan of characters, even over the top, just insane batshit. That's the thing that I walked away with the movie. I was like, this movie is batshit crazy. There's so much going on that it is just freaking insane.
As a horror guy, I've seen the worst of the worst as far as the insane, the most trippy, the most.
But I'm not talking about trippy or the most. Let's make it the most grotesque.
No. I'm saying I've seen a lot more head fuck, just God, my God, what I just watch horror. But this was essentially a studio film. When you guys watched this on Amazon, you saw a Paramount logo before the
I thought that there was parts of this that were just absolutely beautiful. I mean, just
the fact that this was his third deal with Kennan, and what Tobe Hooper was dealing with as far as outside interference and getting, he basically Kit Carson, the screenwriter, basically was on set every day with a typewriter as they were doing scenes, typing up new scenes and typing up scenes that they had just done.
Trying to find bridges.
This film was created in chaos and should not be as great as it is.
Yeah.
There's no way this film should be as entertaining and as cohesive as it is. Say what you want. I mean, there's obviously holes and plot lines that don't. I think there was a whole nother plot line where, yes, Lefty used Stretch as bait, but it turns out her family had used someone as a bait in a drug bust. Like Hooper wanted to bring her. Her and Lefty were much more connected than he wanted. That's never materialized, or it didn't in what they edited together. But my God, somehow they pieced together a fucking batshit crazy film that I think shows you the best of Tobe Hooper. It shows you his sense of humor. It shows you his masterful work of capturing regional horror with Texas.
Yeah.
Even in a satirical sense. The effects are, for the most part, bar none, just so gross and so awesome.
Well, I mean,
the set design, amazing, which he's always known for.
I think that, just the fact that he had people literally tearing pages out of his script, truncating his production time, and still being able to pull a story out of it, that's pretty amazing. I mean, that's it. It's hard. It's a difficult job to do, even when you have carte blanche. It's an impossible job when you have people breathing over you doing these changes. Not only that, they bring in another director to shoot stuff for you.
Then you're basically dumping that footage in the trash, which is scenes you needed to tell your story, and you're not going to get a chance to do it yourself. So you're having your writer try to. Oh, what a nightmare! But somehow he made it work. I love this film. I've always loved it. As a kid, I hated it because it wasn't more of the same. I wanted more of the original. I wanted that visceral, straightforward, no funny business. And this thing was just I couldn't appreciate it as a young guy.
I think that's a good point, because I definitely wouldn't have appreciated it as a young guy, and now that I'm a little bit more mature, just a little, I appreciate what the craft that was going on. It's still not in my wheelhouse. I'm never going to be a horror guy, but I love the craft that went on, the craft that was on display here. Everything from, like you said, the set design, the makeup design, all of the aesthetics of the thing, the whole environment of the thing. Really,
the
really
radio
cool.
station that you see repeatedly, the 2-story building that they do all that.
Cola.
Dude, that was a Hollywood movie set there's no front of that building. That is literally a constructed 2-story building with a stairway. There's no building on the other side of that. So it had Hollywood type stuff.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, they made these crazy sets out of practical locations, whether it was taking over the Austin American Statesman, or whether it was just location scouting and find that fucking chainsaw store.
Yeah.
I had a kick watching it. I just I think it was the right film to tip our hats to Mr. Tobe Hooper.
I think so.
So if Creepshow was an anomaly for George Romero, I think this was not an anomaly for Tobe Hooper. I think this was kind of the best of. The guy always kind of worked in chaos. He never really had a studio behind him, a Hollywood studio backing him creatively 100%. He's always kind of fought the system. I as a Texas filmmaker, I always kind of appreciated that. I kind of like that. Boys, rest in peace, Tobe Hooper. Rest in peace, Tom Petty.
Yes.
Two of us like the beer.
Mm-hmm.
You did not.
No, I did not. I have to say that.
I think we can all say we like the cigar.
Yes,
to
very
different
much so,
degrees.
very much so.
Did you actually smoke your second one?
Yes.
Any better with the change of beer?
Oh yeah, you can definitely tell a lot more of the flavors coming through. I'm still a little tainted by the beer. I even slow drank on that Oktoberfest. I was just trying to. I don't have any seltzer water, as Mr. Blanco told me to do. So I just tried to, kind of slow down on the beer just to try to get a little bit more of the cigar out there.
Okay. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a perfect entry into Drew Estate's catalog.
Oh, I think it fits in just nicely.
And God, just as a cigar, man, I just really, really dug it.
Mm-hmm. I could definitely see myself. A lot of times I like being in a cigar store or a cigar humidor, and you get the guys who don't really know cigars that well. You can see them kind of, usually they come in pairs, and you can overhear them talking like, well, what about this? What about this? I would totally dig bringing this out and being like, oh, all right, that's what you like? Well, why don't you try this over here?
I realized we never talked about price, MSRP. You first.
Me first. Given everything that I've heard about this, I'm gonna probably say $9.
$9.
I was gonna say $9.48.
$7.80.
What?
Hey, that's good.
Yeah, $7.80, $8. $8 a stick.
That's really good.
Yeah,
I would pay it in a heartbeat.
exactly. Yeah.
Which the Undercrown's not. I mean, the Undercrown is a reasonably priced stick, whether it's the Maduro or the Shade. They've never trumped that up to, Liga Privada prices, and it shouldn't be. I mean,
Yeah.
it's. But you know what? Let's.
You're getting a lot of flavor and a lot of complexity for $7.
I agree, Tut. I agree. Why don't you give us some links?
All right. Follow us on Instagram, TNCC_podcast. Hit us up on Twitter at TNCCcast. Definitely like us on Facebook, Tuesday Night Cigar Club. Definitely subscribe to us on
please.
YouTube. If you're not watching us on YouTube, you're missing all of our beautiful, beautiful faces. And you can find us at Tuesday Night Cigar Club on there.
I wonder what the. Thank you, Tut. I wonder what the factor is tonight. There is a alarmingly small number of beer cans on the table tonight.
I think that speaks
Is that
to
the
the
Scotch?
beer. It
Possibly,
might actually be the Scotch.
We have drank a lot of Scotch.
Yeah.
A little more.
I was about to say, we're
I still have a little left,
All
but
right.
I'll,
Cranking
I'll
on a-
take a little bit extra. Just
you might
a
want
touch.
we did crank on a bottle and a half of it there.
We drank a bottle and a half of Chivas 12, so that's nothing to.
I still.
I just worried about- I
still think it's a reflection on the beer.
I worry about our reputations. People see us with only 16 cans. I don't want chatter out there. But yeah, great.
There's a podcast out there that has a problem with what we're doing.
Great cigar, and we'll see how this beer treats us moving forward. But great Scotch. I think we all like Chivas
Yes.
12. This is fun.
Yes, I enjoy Halloween. I like
I do
our
too.
Halloween stuff.
We have one more, and then I promise we're going to do some non-horror movies the rest of the year.
We're going back to a John Hughes review.
No. Well, unless we get so drunk we do Pretty in Pink again, and we don't remember it.
Man, this sounds really familiar.
We did that other movie with Andrew Dice Clay. What was it? This movie. You idiots. But no, we're going to do
Come on, Steph.
one more for Halloween. We'll do our big Halloween episode. I will expect you, Yak Boy, to wear a pumpkin mask for the entire show.
Well, just this one time, though.
What you said last time.
I'm breaking out my pumpkin shirt.
He always does. It's going to be a good show. I don't know what we're doing yet, but I'm going to make it. I do know the cigar we're doing. It's going to be. You'll definitely want to get our take on that.
It'll be phenomenal.
It'll be the best.
It'll be the best cigar.
The best cigar you've ever had.
People tell me I can't believe the cigar that you reviewed. And I was like, wasn't that great? Wasn't that a great cigar?
You all are so great for listening. Fantastic. We love you. Okay. Well, you know what? I don't know what happened tonight with the low alcohol consumption, but I don't like it. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm kind of freaked out right now.
It was a scotch.
It was scotch?
Scotch.
I think so.
All right, I'll
You're
drink.
drinking the scotch right now.
Ooh, that was good. May the wings of liberty, folks, never lose a feather. Sayonara, motherfuckers. We'll see you next week.
To learn more about the time I jumped up on stage naked at a Megadeth concert, only to be severely bludgeoned when the bass player repeatedly hit me over the head with his flying V guitar, please read my short story, Keith Sells, but Who's Buying? By Keith A. Howell. Yep, folks, taking off my pants at inappropriate times is my business, and business is good. Are any of these Megadeth album references doing anything for you? No. Well, the thing is, I've had this closing typed up ever since the guys did that episode featuring Megadeth beer, and I just thought it was too good to waste. But apparently it isn't that funny when it's used completely out of context, like now, so maybe I should have just left it in my desk drawer to rust in peace. Rust in Peace. Rust in Peace is another Megadeth album title. Nothing. Okay, I promise I am done now. But in the meantime, to learn more about the cigars and libations enjoyed on tonight's episode, you can visit www.drewestate.com and www.austinbeerworks.com. For more on O'Brien's Irish Pub, the live music leader in Central Texas, please visit o'brienstemple.com and download their free smartphone app, where you'll find full beer listings including over 40 on tap, menu information, and a calendar of upcoming live events. To listen and purchase music heard on tonight's program, check out www.fritzbeermusic.com. Thank you for listening to the Tuesday Night Cigar Club podcast. This is Keith A. Howell saying until next time, friends, unless we see you sooner at the pub. So keep it smoky, and for God's sake, keep it ballsy as well.